Out the day, it's Sam Darnold. It's only going to be Sam Darnold. At every sportsbook, Sam Darnold, a runaway favorite for the Cleveland Browns to be the #1 overall pick in this draft.
Suck for Sam.
All of a sudden, now it seems like anyone who's capable of reporting something is reporting that Baker Mayfield's now going to be the #1 overall pick in this year's draft. Tyler Ivens, is it Baker Mayfield or is it the field?
Yeah, actually, I believe these rumors because, you know, around the NFL draft time, there's so many people who try to put up smoke screens. They try to do anything they can, mirrors, gamesmanship to try to get better than their division opponent, better than the people drafting ahead of them, behind them. I believe there is something to this. Baker Mayfield, remember, during the year before he won the Heisman Trophy, everybody would look ahead to what was Baker Mayfield's realistic draft stock, and they're talking day 3, they're talking 5th round, and all of a sudden, he starts throwing for more yards, he starts winning more awards, and now Baker Mayfield, all of a sudden, this guy who a lot of people said there were red flags because of the way he handles himself in the media, the crotch grab, all the things that came with the Big 12. Well, you look at Vegas, and you said it to me just hours ago, we were at a different location, you said, it's either Baker Mayfield or Vegas is taking a bath. I think it's the former tonight. I think the Browns find their franchise quarterback in the Oklahoma draft.
Vegas doesn't make those types of mistakes. If you gave me Baker Mayfield or the field, I'm going to take Baker Mayfield to win this. Joel Silverberg, Baker Mayfield or the field for the Cleveland Browns, who have on the clock right now with the #1 overall pick.
I think they will take him.
Don't have Joel Silverberg. So, yeah, we'll see. Technical difficulties there. We'll get Joel Silverberg on. Look, I just think this is who it's going to be, is Baker Mayfield. Cleveland Browns needs quarterback, of course. When you're drafted #1 overall, I know a lot of people have brought up the idea, draft Saquon Barkley. Gary Danielson said he thinks John Dorsey's going to draft Barkley 1, take whichever quarterback comes to him at 4, because he feels comfortable with 3 of these guys. I just don't see that happening. They need quarterback. They need corner. They need tackle now that Joe Thomas is no longer with the team. Is there a tackle or take it #1 overall? Not at all. They need safety. They need wide receiver. And they could use, luxury item, another edge rusher. Browns picking 1st and 4th, Tyler. How do you see this pecking order go for the Browns?
If the Browns want to make it a Browns draft, and I mean mess it up and have their fans screaming and yelling, then they need to steer away from what everybody expects them to do. What they are going to do, though, for the first time in a very, very long time, I'm going to say it right now, will the Browns get this draft right? How do they do it? They get their franchise quarterback, whoever they believe is the best out of these 5 who realistically have been talked about in the first round. You got to come back around, and you've got to remember that you're in the AFC North. And what happens whenever you're in the AFC North? The badge of honor, defense. Myles Garrett, even though he was hampered by injuries last year,
he's
is somebody who can be mean, and somebody who every single time a left tackle or a tackle goes to the line of scrimmage, they see Bradley Chubb on one side of the ball, and on the other side of the line of scrimmage, they see Myles Garrett. To me, you can't Browns it up today. Get your franchise at 1, quarterback, #4, get you a mean guy on the defense.
Well, you're finally competently managed in John Dorsey.
Yeah.
You see what the Kansas City Chiefs are. Dorsey built the Kansas City Chiefs into what they are as far as the personnel department's concerned. Loses a power struggle with Andy Reid, so he gets pushed out the door. That's okay.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. Andy Reid's a fantastic coach. Dorsey lands in a great spot in Cleveland. But from every report that we see, John Dorsey is going to make this pick. It's not going to be Johnny Haslam this time saying take Johnny Manziel. It's not going to be Hugh Jackson saying I'm going to pull this trade 3 draft picks for Carson Palmer like he did with the Raiders.
Yeah.
This is John Dorsey's draft. I don't think he can screw this up. Because the one thing John Dorsey doesn't do, he doesn't overthink. He just goes and gets good football players. He doesn't try to go put rims on a 78 Pinto. Joel Silverberg, you got you taken care of now?
I think so.
There we go.
All
okay.
right, there we are.
We got the, right now, Raj is on the stage, man. We will let you know as soon as this pick comes in. We got Troy Aikman on the stage, Jason Witten on the stage, Roger Staubach on the stage. It's the draft is in Big D. As soon as this pick comes down from the Browns, we will let you know. Baker Mayfield or the field?
I think they will take Baker Mayfield. I would not if I was sitting in the Browns' shoes right now. Honestly, I would take Sam Darnold because I think that's a guy that you're getting. I think Josh Rosen's going to be a good quarterback. Josh Allen has too much of a bust factor. Baker Mayfield, I feel like there's a very specific scheme or a very specific franchise or setting that he needs to be in for him to be successful. And with the way the Browns go through quarterbacks like dirt, I just don't see Baker Mayfield being the guy that can turn that franchise around.
Quarterbacks like dirt. 27 different quarterbacks since Tim Couch was drafted in 1999. Eventually, circle gets the square. You got to get it right.
Process of elimination.
You got to get it
exactly,
right.
Yes.
This is an opportunity for Cleveland to get pushed in the right direction. Not only for the Browns, but then you go Giants, you go Jets, you go Cleveland to get it 4. we're really looking at decisions that are going to carve the path for those franchises for arguably the next decade, and it's going to happen over the next 20, 25 minutes.
Okay, so you would say, Joel, you would take Sam Darnold number one. I agree. I would take Sam Darnold number one as well. The biggest reason is you're the Browns. How many quarterbacks was it again? Since
27
since 99. Sam Darnold has the highest floor. And for me, if you're the Cleveland Browns, the thing you can't do is Browns this up. And I think Rosen has the highest upside. I think he's ready to go anyway. I think the problem is injuries. For me, Darnold is the fewest question marks. I think he's at least a good franchise quarterback. And 3 years from now, you're 7-9, 8-8 with Sam Darnold. And if you're the Browns, that's a nice launching point for you to start from as you rebuild this thing. For you, who would you take, Tyler, if you're John Dorsey right now on the clock?
You said somebody who can get you ready to play now. To me, I've been using this analogy now for the better part of a month. Who is your Christmas morning out of the box ready to play with toy? It's Josh Rosen. To me, he's the guy who's got the accuracy. He's the guy who has got the high IQ. He immediately comes out and he makes Cleveland that team. If they have a defense that can keep them in games, look at the pieces that they've done in this offseason. Jarvis Landry. Miami didn't want him. Cleveland says, come on, we'll take care of him.
We'll pay you. Yeah.
If Corey Coleman can stay healthy, and if you look at the likes of Josh Gordon, who can stay off me, who can just actually pass drug tests, look what Duke Johnson Jr. did last year. He essentially showed up, told Isaiah Crowell, I'm a third down back. I can play all three. Yeah, you're going to have to replace Joe Thomas and some of that leadership. To me, if you get the right quarterback, and we keep hearing it, guys, as long as you have a quarterback for the right system, Cleveland's not that far off. They're not that far off. They have offensive pieces.
I agree. They're not that far defensively. They're not that far off. The line's not bad. You need to replace Joe Thomas. The line's not bad right now. You have just a ton of cap space as well.
That's
the other side of it. Yeah. You have a ton of cap space. So you've been able to make some level of moves. Last to win a regular season game was RG3 as a starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. That is unbelievable.
1-31 the last 2 years. It's just kind of hard. Like, when you say it, you go, no. They had 1-31. And I hate to be that guy, but the last team they beat, I got a friend here, the Chargers. Didn't say that out loud.
I will say the one thing that I think the Browns are going to be the biggest loser in football this year. And I think they're not going to be good enough to not fire Hugh Jackson at the end of this season.
Yeah.
Dorsey will bring in one of his own guys that's a West Coast, falls under that Mike Holmgren tree like they always seem to, all these KC guys do. Peterson's doing just fine in Philadelphia. Reed's doing fine in Kansas City. We now have Nagy that's in Chicago right now. So I think you're going to see Frank Solich out of the tree from Peterson's offense running in Indianapolis right now. They're going to Gruden's out in Oakland. They're going to bring in one of those guys. And I think that they'll bring in one of those guys. They'll be good. This year, 6-10, 7-9. But if you can imagine going from 0 wins to 6 wins even, I know that's not a good season. It might get them out of the cellar in the AFC North. But I think Cleveland's a team that's definitely one to watch this year. They're not going to be your worst or first team this season. There's always one of those in the NFL. But I do think they can get a lot better in a hurry just by being competently led. And I think that'll help things. Not doing the musical chairs at quarterback. Having a quarterback that they can look, we're going to sit through this guy's growing pains and let this dude be our starting quarterback, or sit behind Tyrod Taylor, and then next year let him be our starting quarterback. If you draft Bradley Chubb, you've got pieces on the defensive side of the football to really be to give some teams troubles, at least on that side of the football, and Tyrod Taylor's at least competent.
The number one question that Cleveland has been asked if they do take Baker Mayfield have been the comparisons to Johnny Manziel. We've seen the red flags. Every publication, every television, every radio show has said, look at this. Yeah, they're the similar size, they're the similar frame and all their attributes. My question to you is, why all of a sudden in the last 2-3 weeks have we heard Baker Mayfield's name? The Cleveland has come out and said, look, we get it. We went through the Mayfield example. We went through the whole Mayfield experiment, Manziel experiment, I beg your pardon. This is nothing like what we're used to. This is something different. But to me, I just can't see the difference. Yeah, I get it. Maybe an inch here or there. Yeah, maybe a couple passing yards there. But when it comes to attributes, they're very similar.
I saw that today Adam Schefter said on First Take that John Dorsey told him while he was between jobs, before he took the Cleveland job, after he left the KC job, he thought Baker Mayfield's the best player in football. He went to 6 of Baker Mayfield's games. John Dorsey did while he was out of a job. That it's just John Dorsey likes this guy. Let's be very, very clear. He's not the safest pick from a quarterback perspective for Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
If we're ranking them based on bustability, Allen's 1, Mayfield might be 2, right?
I would say so, and then I would say Rosen 3, and then Darnold after that.
I would put Lamar Jackson up there because you don't know if he's going to.
Well, outside the big four, including Jackson at the top. Yeah, I was thinking those top 4 guys.
So if we're talking about top 4 guys, and you got to rank them, I go Allen, I go Mayfield, I go Darnold, and then I go Rosen. in that order.
And Darnold and Rosen, I don't think the gap in terms of bustability is very different.
Well, for Rosen, it's just injuries. That's it, right?
Yeah. And that's why I put him at 3 ahead of Darnold.
And if you don't, Josh Rosen, if you don't know, both knees have had surgery. Both shoulders have had surgery. He suffered 2 concussions this past college football season.
He should be the guy on the operation game.
Yeah,
absolutely. Waiting for that red nose to go off.
Yeah, that's the only concern you have with Rosen. To me, Darnold doesn't have Rosen's upside at all, but Darnold doesn't have the injury issues either that Josh Rosen has. As Jim Mora left him back there with me playing guard, just getting his brains beat in, game out for 4 seasons.
And the biggest knock on Darnold is his problem with trying to force passes to guys that are wearing a different color jersey than he is. But I think he can be coached out of that. I think he's got the arm. I think he's got a lot of the intangibles. He's got pretty good footwork. He just needs to stop forcing passes to the other team. And I think he'll get the picture. He'll get the idea very quickly in the NFL. Hey, you keep doing that, you're going to sit on the sidelines. If I'm John Dorsey, I would draft Sam Darnold and plan on not using him at all this rookie season.
I agree. One thing, Sam Darnold, I heard an interview with him over the weekend. He owned it. He said, I did turn the ball over too much. I'm not going to sit and act like this is something I didn't do. I have seen a lot of film studies that will tell you it's as much of a problem with Sam Darnold with his coaching last year as anything else. They did not want to run the football, and then they dealt with offensive line issues. They forced Sam Darnold to throw in windows where either he makes a play or he throws the ball to bounds and doesn't throw a pick, but he has to make a play with his arm. That's what he has to do. So what you see is Sam Darnold having to make a play or his team is going to have to punt the football, and so he forces it into a tight window. I don't know that all of those pick problems, look, some of it's on him for trusting his arm, some of it's on his coaching last season with Clay Held and T. Martin there in the USC.
They always lay out the pros and the cons. To me, the pro that Sam Darnold, that just makes me, I flirt with the chance of him falling to my team at 3. He extends plays. We saw that at Southern Cal in the NFL. Where do you get a lot of your big plays? Extending plays, giving it the offensive line.
Moving laterally to extend plays as well. Not necessarily just tuck and run.
Right.
We're not Jalen Hurts in this thing. We're talking about moving laterally to extend plays and then finding a receiver downfield. He's more athletic than people realize.
Yeah, absolutely. Without question. And it's so funny because little did I know, watching him his freshman year in the Rose Bowl against Penn State, that we would be talking about Sam Darnold just less than 18 months later potentially being the wild card in all this. Could he go as high as number 1? And could we see him fall in the teams where somebody is now all of a sudden making picks, making trades to try to acquire a service?
3-minute mark for the Cleveland Browns right now. They need to get their first pick in. They will be the first pick. They are on the clock right now, guys. Okay, trade-heavy draft, yes or no?
In the first round, I'm going to say no. I think we could see 1 or 2 major trades, possibly. I don't know if I consider that trade-heavy, though. There's been a lot of talk about Buffalo trying to move up. Who knows if we see that or not?
Give me an over-under.
Over-under 3.5 trades in the first round.
Under. I'll go under.
I'm going to say under as well.
I'll take the over. I think we see that because I think we see people move for quarterback. The other side of the thing is this, though. The second round of this draft is so unbelievably deep with guys that would have been first-round picks at the guard position, at end, and running back that you can't necessarily – teams look at it and say, well, I can get a comparable talent later on. A lot of teams are going to want to trade back out of this. The quick key is going to be this. Who wants to trade back in? To get a corner? To get I get Connor Williams is the only other guard. I guess you get the guard, the tackle out of USC or UCLA that you could possibly pick up as well in that last 10 picks of the draft. Connor Williams, the guard out of Texas who plays tackle, and the Cleveland Browns have the pick in.
And the thing is with Connor Williams, I mean, he's had multiple injury issues.
The pick is in for the Cleveland Browns there, Kang. So right now it looks like the pick is going to be Baker Mayfield. Are you guys surprised at all that Baker Mayfield's going to be the pick for the Browns?
If you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said yes. Had you asked me last night when some of these reports were coming out and general managers were starting to confirm that was what was going to go down and you read the tea leaves, not so much. So here it is now. You got Baker Mayfield. You got a guy who he's walking on at Texas Tech. He has to walk on at Oklahoma after he transfers. And now all of a sudden he's a Heisman Trophy winner. And get ready, Cleveland. He's now your number 1 overall selection of the draft.
Albert Breer, the Sports Illustrated, reporting that Baker Mayfield is going to be the guy.
Yeah, pick is in right now. We're waiting on Raj to go up, but we have SI reporting that it is going to be Baker Mayfield number 1. Ralph Acciano with the New York Daily News reporting that Baker Mayfield is going to be number 1. The pick is in now for the Cleveland Browns. So Baker Mayfield goes number 1 overall. Doesn't really surprise a whole lot of us, but I will say, If your mock draft wasn't done this morning after 10 o'clock, your mock draft is busted probably right now, right?
When Vince Ferrara put it up at sportsradio WNML.com, I had Sam Darnold as my number 1 overall selection.
Look, Vince runs a tight ship, so that Tuesday deadline crushed us on the mock drafts, I think.
Look, this is it for Cleveland. I mean, this is the opportunity where you can make or break. I mean, look at the quarterbacks that are in the AFC North right now. You took a gamble with Andy Dalton. I mean, he's right now, what would you say, so-so. Joe Flacco leads you to a Super Bowl. You win a championship. He gets his extension. And then Big Ben. If you're Cleveland right now, this is going to sound nuts. There are going to be a lot of sexy. There's going to be a lot of temptation to flirt with Cleveland being one of those biggest movers, but I guarantee you, if he isn't going to be a winner in the NFL, I guarantee you he's going to sell the most jerseys in the NFL.
One thing that the Browns fans there at the draft don't seem particularly happy about it right now is Baker Mayfield has officially gone up on the board. Joel Silverberg. What this signals to me, though, is we're going to see John Dorsey run a short, quick passing game, not a Hugh Jackson passing game. This will be John Dorsey's offense, not Hugh Jackson's offense that we see on the field with Baker Mayfield. Maybe they take a year to transition that, but what Baker Mayfield does better than anybody in the history of college football, throw the RPO.
Well, and I think what you need to do when you're trying to rebuild a franchise that doesn't know what it means to have success is try to get playmakers that are good with the ball in their hands. And when you have a guy like Jarvis Landry and get some other playmakers out there, whether it be Corey Coleman or whoever, you want to get the ball into those guys' hands and allow them to get in open space. And I don't think you need to necessarily focus on a deep passing game to do that. So that's where Baker Mayfield, I think, comes in handy. Now, two questions that I have for Baker Mayfield. Number one, he has to take on something he's never done before. Texas Tech was in fairly good condition when he first went there. Oklahoma, obviously, an elite program when he first played for the Sooners. Now he has to turn a program around, which is something he's never done before. Also, can he break the trend of Big 12 quarterbacks not succeeding in the NFL? We talked about this sometime last year. Tyler and I, we did this sometime last summer. The last Big 12 quarterback that actually had some resemblance of an NFL career that we could think of, Cordell Stewart, when Colorado was still a Big 12 team. That's how far back
he was a wide receiver for the first 5 years of his career to be able to eventually become a starting quarterback in the National Football League.
I don't know what it is about signal callers from that conference. I have no confidence in them. And some people are going to try to sell me on Sam Bradford if he could have just stayed healthy. Yeah, there's always the ifs, the buts, and it's always what happens if they're in different systems.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's taking that lips and whistle, right?
Exactly. That's why when people are like, well, there's Mason Rudolph, and there's just so much to gamble right now. That's why there's so many people out there who are going to wait pick by pick by pick. And now that Baker Mayfield's been settled in Cleveland, I'm going to tell you, you're sitting here right now with your Phil Simms jersey on. The Giants could really, I guess, throw a wrench in the works if they don't go chalk.
It hinges here on how nuts this draft's going to be based on what the Giants do. Do the Giants trade back? Can they find someone to trade back? We did have the earlier report from ESPN. They were trying to. Diana Rossini reporting that.
Yeah.
And then Ian Rappaport said, hey, just did a press conference with Pat Shermer. He says, we're going to draft this one at number 2. What he's hearing is nobody was willing to give up enough to go quite that high to get quarterbacks because they think quarterbacks are going to slide.
Look at what the Jets gave up to move up 3 spots. The 2 twos they had this year and a 2 next year. So let's go ahead and just guess what the number 2 pick's going to be with quarterbacks who at times were floating to be the number 1 pick, Allen and Darnold. So if you are the Giants, what are you asking for? Especially Buffalo. Anything less than both their first round picks
and 2 twos. And 2 twos.
Yeah, then you hang up the phone if you don't get it.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? Some people are going to say either you woo us now, or we're going to take arguably the best player in the draft and Saquon Barkley.
The pick is in with the New York Giants. We'll get you updated on that as soon as Raj hits the podium. Okay, Joel Silverberg, if you're the Giants, what are you doing? Are you going Saquon Barkley and Schultz? Are you drafting the quarterback of your future? What would you do?
Man, this is so tough because I feel like it's too high to take the quarterback of the future. I would be tempted to go Barkley because I think you have a very safe pick there and a playmaker that can take some pressure off Eli Manning. I think Eli can give you at least 1 to possibly 2 more seasons, and then you can figure out the quarterback situation later.
Quickly before the Giants pick gets announced, let's go around the room. Grade on Baker Mayfield as the number 1 overall draft pick for Cleveland.
I'll give it a B-.
I'll give it an even B because the ceiling is so high for him, but man, the lows are there.
That could be as well, But at the same time, if this was anybody but John Dorsey drafting right now, we would look at Cleveland and say, "Good for you, Cleveland, getting a B."
Someone just pointed this out on Twitter. The Brett Favre recreated photo that you did. There is a "Love My Cavs" sign in the back. Baker Mayfield apparently did.
Love my Cavs. There you go. Yeah, Baker Mayfield probably did know with that. Still waiting on the Giants pick to be announced. I don't want to tip it. People are announcing things. We know the pick is in, but I don't want to tip it for you guys that may have the television on but in the radio on as well, doing that. But the pick is in for the New York Football Giants. Looks like Raj is heading up to the podium. I'll just tell you this as a Giants fan. I want them to trade back. I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be Barkley.
Ian Rappaport's got the report in.
Yeah, here's Raj right now. New York Giants. Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State. Number 2 overall.
I know that's not what you wanted, but do you like that more than Chubb?
It's as long as you get the lineman in the second round. The key is this: don't hand me Saquon Barkley behind a trash offensive line, and don't sell me what Dave Gettleman's trying to sell me in a press conference this week, that the good running back makes the offensive line better, because there's literally nothing that's ever shown that in the history of football. So don't hand me that trash if you're Dave Gettleman. The key is this: Saquon Barkley to be worth this pick has to be Emmitt Smith. He has to be Barry Sanders. If he's anything less than the greatest running back in the National Football League, the Giants wasted an opportunity here to not just to trade back and get multiple assets and make their roster a lot better, or to draft their quarterback of the future. To me, when you're in this spot, you draft the QB of the future. And this is not the way they're going to go, though. I don't mind Saquon Barkley as long as you get the guard in the second round, Tyler.
Here comes the biggest look into the crystal ball prediction I can give you. You have Eli Manning, who has maybe a year or two left. You have Odell Beckham, apparently, who's happy, or he's not as upset as he was. He's going to return to camp, and he's going to get things in order. You now have Saquon Barkley, who could be an instant offensive rookie of the year immediately. Des Bryant has already come out and said, look, I'm taking a one-year advantage contract.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow up. I'm going to rub it in everybody's faces, especially my old team in Dallas, and show them they made a mistake cutting me. I believe in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to hear a one-year deal as agreement between the Giants and Des Bryant. And all of a sudden, this is going to sound nuts because I know you share the same division, you being a Giants fan and other Giants fans out there with the defending Super Bowl champions. But if that occurs, if Des Bryant teams up with the players I just mentioned with that defense, I'm going to have New York winning that division going pretty far for
They will be the first team if they can just get one more offensive lineman to start. That's the key. You've got it. Flowers has to pan out at right tackle. And you have to handle business on day 2. Tyler Ivens, Joel Silverberg, I'm Will West. Live at Twin Peaks where we're watching the draft. If you're out there listening, driving around, looking for a place to watch, Jets are on the clock right now. Come back and watch it with us. This is Sports Radio WNML's Draft Central. Thank you. Hey, sorry, I'll throw to those. Jets pick is in. Tyler Ivens, noted Jets fan, is here with us. Who do you want, Tyler? Who do you think it will be?
Who do I want? If you're going in order, give me Josh Rosen. I believe they'll go Sam Darnold. If it's anybody but Rosen or Darnold, I'm going to be a very, very upset Jets fan for the next 2 hours plus during this special. So I'm going to experience this live with you guys on one of the 40 televisions that they have here at Twin Peaks. Look, the Jets have drafted a defensive player each of their last 9 selections. Last time they took an offensive player in the first round, 2009, it was Mark Sanchez. Hopefully the Jets have found somebody who could take them deeper in the playoff run, unlike Mark Sanchez couldn't do, and that's get them ultimately to the Super Bowl.
Raj is at the podium with the 3rd pick of the 2018 NFL Draft. The New York Jets select Sam Darnold, quarterback, USC.
Hey, listen, the Suck for Sam campaign was supposed to be on last year. The Jets didn't go 0-16. And the reason why I wanted Josh Rosen, and here's the reason why, because I keep referencing the fact that this guy is just ready to be an NFL quarterback tomorrow. Now, granted, sometimes I've got to be more realistic as a Jets fan that they're not ready to compete for a Super Bowl tomorrow. Sam Darnold, look, he's got all the intangibles. We just talked about how he can extend plays. I mean, this guy, at some point in times, they were saying he was undoubtedly the #1 selection. And all we were told, that being Jets fans, were, hey, look, sorry, either Cleveland or New York are going to scoop this guy up. But if somehow, some way, Darnold can fall to the Jets at 3, this could be the difference maker in the turn of a franchise. And you know what? I can't say that I'm upset about it. Yeah, it's not the guy I want, but guess what? It's a quarterback. They took the gamble by trading with the Colts. This is where they are now. Sam Darnold, welcome to the Meadowlands.
Joel Silverberg, your thoughts? Sam Darnold with the New York Jets.
Like the pick. Like I said, I would have taken him with the Browns at #1, and I think he lucks out by not having to go to Cleveland. I think the Jets in a slightly better situation where he could come in, and if he doesn't have to start immediately, I mean, I don't know what the Jets are going to plan on doing with Teddy Bridgewater being there, but if they're able to ride Bridgewater for a little bit, let Sam Darnold develop, because I don't think he maxed his potential while he was at USC. I realize he's under that 30-game start threshold that a lot of NFL GMs like to see from college quarterbacks. But I think Sam Darnold can mature into a really, really nice quarterback.
This is an A grade for me. This is an A grade for me. I look at Darnold and I just think, if you're the Jets, what is it you told me last time the Jets had a franchise quarterback was?
Guy by the name of Broadway Joe Namath.
Yeah. It's been that long. To me, you go the safe route, right?
Yeah.
There's no you lay up. You don't have to try to put it straight on the green. Lay it up, chip shot. This is what the Jets are doing here. They're laying up, chip shot. They make it. They go with the wise move. I agree with you. Rosen's ready to go in a way that Darnold's not, but long term, he just has the highest floor to me, and to me, this is an A grade.
Now they have to be patient. The Jets and this fan base, they get Josh McCown back for 1 year. Josh McCown, servicing quarterback. The reason why they didn't go 0-16.
And he's okay mentoring a young guy, too, is one thing about McCown.
So what do? If you're Sam Darnold, you hold your clipboard, you get your headset on, and for 16 games, you are on McCown's hip. They get injured, McCown goes down. I don't want to see Darnold out there filling injury time. You know, you keep Hackenberg on the roster, you keep Petty. I know what you're saying. Hey, you also signed Teddy Bridgewater. Look, it was cheap, one of those bridge deals. Somebody calls up and says, hey, is Teddy available? They're not even sure he's 100% healthy, so I don't believe Bridgewater's going to be in the mix come opening days in September for the Jets. Darnold, under no circumstances, like Jared Goff, sit on the sideline, you enjoy the bright lights and the loud city, and get ready to be that guy starting in 2019.
5 minutes left. The Cleveland Browns are on the clock. Browns took the quarterback. Need still. Tackle with Joe Thomas going away. Wide receiver. Safety. The problem? They're not spending a number 4 pick overall on any of those things. Corner, probably not spending a number 4 pick overall on that. About 5 minutes to go with that. Joel Silverberg did great for Saquon Barkley first, then Sam Darnold.
Saquon Barkley, I give it an A-, mainly because it's not the exact need that the Giants needed immediately, so that's why it's the A-. I still think he's a once-in-a-generational type running back, one of those guys that feels very, very safe. And then for Sam Darnold, it's an A grade for me as well, because I think he was the most complete quarterback coming into this draft. He's got the highest floor, as you said, maybe not the highest ceiling, but I think if he's able to sit, you could have the Jared Goff effect where he comes in year 2, maybe year 3, if you can really afford that and have him be very, very effective long term.
Okay, Saquon Barkley grade, Tyler Ivens.
A-. Look, the one thing that was hampering the Giants last year, look, you can give me all the Gallmans in the world you want. You can try to find somebody off the practice squad. The Giants, they need one of those lethal runners again. They need somebody who runs angry, somebody who has the ability, no matter what down or distance is on the field, he can be a huge playmaker like Odell Beckham is. You get Barkley, and I think when this is all said and done, and we look back at this draft a year from now, and maybe we're mocking in 2019 for the draft, I think we're going to look back and go, man, can the Giants get some, like the Giants last year, you've got a Saquon Barkley. When the grades come out, I know about the Quentin Nelsons of the world, but to me, my number 1 guy, instead of doing a mock, if we're going top 100, Saquon Barkley out of Penn State. You guys scored a home run.
Sam Darnold, what is your grade for that pick for the New York Jets?
Look, you need a franchise quarterback. You need somebody who can own up to the lights. This guy comes from Los Angeles. He knows big city.
His grandfather's the Marbler now.
You know what? He might be able to ride it and throw me a pack of smokes, which I probably would have burned through the entire filter had they gone another route. I will say right now for Sam Darnold, it's a great pick. Jets fans, they can be confident moving forward. One thing that, again, be patient, because what's going to happen, as I just mentioned, with your team, who the Jets share a stadium with, the Giants, to me, with that pick, they're going to steal the headlines next year. Jets fans have to be patient. They have to realize that the future isn't now, but it's near.
I would give Saquon Barkley, I'll give that a B+. I think it's a solid grade. It's very good. To me, though, there's some portion of the Giants not having the lines of scrimmage figured out, but having like an abundance of skilled players, an embarrassment of skilled players that they have. Part of this is like taking an 86 Cutlass with a fender, with a primer fender, and you're putting 20-inch rims on it. That's what I feel like a little bit the Giants are doing with this thing. But if there's one guy out there, you say the last guy that's going to be a bust in this entire draft, probably going to be Saquon Barkley, right? So I'm okay with that. I understand why Tom Coughlin drafted a running back at number 4 last year. That went pretty well for Jacksonville this season, and they didn't, frankly, get as good of a running back as the Giants, I feel like, just got. So I'll say that's fine. With Darnold, of course, I'd give it an A. Brown's pick is in. Gentlemen, Joel Silverberg, who do you think it will be? Who would you take and who will it be?
Yeah, I wouldn't go defensive back here because I think it's too high, and I wouldn't go wide receiver either. I could see them going lineman. I just don't know if like a Mike McClinchy, I think that's too high for a guy like that, though I do think he is a surefire starter. I think you could plug him in immediately, and that would be a good fit for the Browns. Bradley Chubb, potentially. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they went somewhere in the front seven as well. But it's all up in the air just because their needs right now that they have. I don't think there's anybody with that skill set that's worth being taken 4th overall. So the Browns are kind of playing with a little bit of house money here.
All right, so you think it will be Bradley Chubb?
Yeah, I'll say Bradley Chubb.
Tyler Ivens, who should it be? Who will it be?
Same answer on both. Bradley Chubb. Again, you piece them together with Myles Garrett. AFC North, get your defensive players. Big Ben, Joe Flacco, Andy Dalton. Things just got a little bit more intimidating 2 times a year in that division.
Okay, the Cleveland Browns pick is in. Raj hasn't gotten to the podium yet. We're not going to tip that pick based on reports. I would trade back. That's the thing that I would be doing, is trying to trade back into the Browns. This tells me, man, Buffalo has chilled on drafting Josh Allen. They're not willing to come off of what it's going to take to draft a quarterback this high. Or maybe they've worked out a deal with even Denver, picking at number 5.
Indy at 6. They talked about they wanted more picks.
I've seen mock drafts with Buffalo potentially going up to 4, 5, or 6.
Raj is at the podium now with the 4th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft. Denzel Ward,
wow,
corner out of Ohio State, goes number 4 to the Cleveland Browns. Our first jaw-dropping shocker, except to our guy Brian Akins. Brian, didn't you have Denzel Ward number 4? You did not. Okay, I thought you did. I thought you did. Brian Akins is here. He has Denzel Ward crazy higher than I've ever seen anybody else have him. Denzel Ward goes number 4.
The highest
to the Browns.
The highest I had seen him was maybe 6 in some mock drafts. I feel like it's too high for him. Look, I get Denzel Ward, the skill set and everything. I don't see him the same way that I saw Marshawn Lattimore last year, where you could justify taking. I mean, remember, I wanted the Titans to take Lattimore last year with the 5th overall pick, but Denzel Ward, I feel like this is a little bit too high. I get that you have the need, and I think Denzel Ward could be a solid player for you, but I think you could have traded back and gotten something else along with this.
Yeah, Brian had him in number 5 to Denver, but Denzel Ward, I read that maybe he could go top 5. I did not see number 4 coming. I thought it was Bradley Chubb all day long.
I'm going to be real. I don't know what's going on right now in the secondary in Columbus, Ohio, but these guys are coming out in the top 10, top 15 picks like it's draft.
It's the 4th first-round pick for an Ohio State cornerback in the last 3 years.
4 in the last 3 years.
4 in the last 3 years.
What are they feeding these guys in Columbus? What are they ball hawking there in the Big Ten East? What is it they're doing that are making the NFL franchises salivate? I'm going to be honest. Browns fans, say what you will, when it came to the Baker Mayfield selection, Browns fans apparently were really excited with Denzel Ward, at least the ones that they're showing. Well, and then as soon as I bring that up, I know this doesn't work well for radio, but the ESPN broadcast.
There's Surrender Cobra. Yeah, there was Surrender Cobra for a Browns fans or two there. My goodness, is this a mistake? Taking Denzel Ward, not taking Bradley Chubb. Tyler Ivens, is that a mistake?
Well, they've been saying they need to find somebody to replace Joe Hayden since they let him walk to Pittsburgh last year. I didn't think it was going to come this early in the draft, but it is what it is. And I think Cleveland radio is going to be a must-listen if you can find it.
Goodness gracious. Joel Silverberg, is it a mistake?
I'm curious to see if there are any reports about whether the Browns tried to trade back. Because I don't think Denzel Ward is necessarily a bad pick, but I think it's too high to go with him at number 4. I think you could have traded back to 6, 7, maybe even lower than that, and still gotten him and also gotten some other picks or some other amenities on top of that.
This tells me no one wants to trade. That's what this tells me right now, is nobody wants to trade. Because there are a lot of corners back half the draft or in the teams you could possibly pick up.
Now I wonder, remember what happened last year is Corey Davis was the first wide receiver taken off with the 5th pick by Tennessee last year, and that started up. I wonder what position are we going to see an influx of higher than we were anticipating this year. Corner seems like an unlikely choice for that, but I wonder how this shapes up the next 3 or 4 picks and then how it rounds out the top 10.
This is a mistake to me. This is absolutely a mistake.
I agree.
Because I think that you could have traded back into the last 10 picks of the first round and gotten a corner that wasn't much worse. Denzel Ward wasn't the best corner in college football last year.
You could have gotten Josh Jackson probably in the 20s.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you're going to get him that high, but you could have traded back up to the 16. You have so many second-round picks. Yeah. Give up 3 second-round picks to trade back up to 16 and pick them up. Somebody, like the Ravens right now want to move back. Chargers want to move back.
2 points. 1, Denzel Ward, I had him at number 9 in my latest mock draft.
Okay.
San Francisco. Number 2, you said maybe we're not going to see as many trades. Right now, still on the board, 5 to Denver, who has mentioned, John Elway, that they are open for business. Bradley Chubb, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen. I can keep going down the list.
Roquan Smith.
I guarantee. There you go, Roquan Smith. I guarantee you right now, there is not enough arms. He could go octopus right now in the Denver War Room, and he's not taking all the phone calls, or at least what he's getting potential trades.
Trade for Denzel Ward at number 4 to the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland right now, look, I'm all about taking care of your defense, but all the points that Joel just brought up and you did as well, this is the lowest grade I'm going to hand out on the first 4 picks. C's getting degrees, but I'm going to hand it out as an even C.
I'll give it a C as well, Joel.
The player, I'll give it a B- to a B because I think he is a good,
He's a good player.
quarterback.
He's a B player, yeah.
But the pick itself, I would actually give it a C-.
Yeah, I understand that completely. The Denver Broncos are now on the clock. We'll get one more pick in before we head to break. They need corner because they let Akins go. So maybe the Browns thought they had to get him before Denver picks. They need edge rusher. Bradley Chubb is still on the board. You can't let Ware come back at his salary cap number, so you have to have a replacement for him. Offensive line they need. Hello, Quentin Nelson, because they've not been able to run the football in a very long time in Denver. Tight end, wide receiver. You also have to think about quarterback. I know that you have Case Keenum under contract right now. My goodness, Josh Rosen's sitting right there. And I know people talk about guys with, they have other interests, and is he completely dedicated to football? He has a little bit of an attitude. John Elway was the same way. I'll go play baseball if you draft me, Indy. You better not draft me or I'll go play for the Yankees. John Elway knows that move. He knows all of these moves. If you're John Elway and you have a chance to pick up Josh Rosen and sit him, I think you have to go that route. Am I wrong?
Look at who's following Denver. Indy is at 6. They essentially have their quarterback, even though Luck hasn't thrown a football since surgery. 7, you go Tampa Bay. You know Jameis Winston. 8, Chicago. Mitch Trubisky was the trade up last year. 9 to the Niners. You just got Garoppolo. 10 to the Raiders. Is there a chance that the Dolphins could continue to sit at 11 and have a quarterback fall in their lap? Because if the Broncos don't go quarterback at 5, we're possibly sitting here for another hour minus a trade and not seeing the quarterback go off the board.
I don't know what happens there. Tampa's not taking one. You're right. Their teams don't need one. So you can trade in here where you give up a 1 and 2 twos if you're Buffalo, because they have 5 of the first 65 picks in this draft. I don't know. Josh Rosen right now on the screen, kind of sitting there. I did not expect it. When we first started this draft season, the last thing I expected is that number 5, Josh Rosen, is still sitting there. Yeah. That's the last thing I expected to see.
I mean, if the Broncos don't take a quarterback here, you're right. You could potentially be, if you're Buffalo, for example, you could be waiting at 12 and still have either Josh Allen or Josh Rosen still on the board.
Raj is heading up to the podium now to make the pick. Denver Broncos picking number 5 in the 2018 NFL Draft. My goodness, the anticipation. Raj is introducing a young man that's in a wheelchair that's going to make the pick for the Denver Broncos.
One of my closest friends, Michael Spinner's here with his Maurice Clarett Broncos jersey on right now.
Oh, nice.
He keeps looking at me and he just mouthed to me, "Get Bradley Chubb."
Is it going to be QB or no?
I think they go Bradley Chubb.
QB or no?
It just fell in the lap.
I think they'll go Bradley Chubb.
They probably go Bradley Chubb as well. I would take Rosen, but I think they're going to go Bradley Chubb.
If you go Chubb here, you're going to have to see a trade in the next 15 minutes.
Here's the thing. I would take Rosen.
Back again, right?
I would take Rosen.
Would you? Would you take Rosen or would you take Chubb?
You Rosen. Because look, it's Case Keenum. It's Case Keenum for 2 years.
Pick is in. Bradley Chubb, defensive end, North Carolina State, to the Denver Broncos at number 5. That leaves the Indianapolis Colts on the board and only 2 quarterbacks in the top 5. I told Heather Harrington she was nuts when she told me only 2 quarterbacks should have been in the top 5. I did not see it breaking like this.
You know what's nastier than Myles Garrett and Bradley Chubb on the defensive side of the football? Bradley Chubb and Von Miller on one side of the football.
No kidding. Denver Broncos pick Bradley Chubb, defensive end, North Carolina State. 656-9900 is you want to get on board with us. We're trying to get some phone calls in here as well. Live at Twin Peaks is where we do it. Draft beer flowing, 27.1 degrees Fahrenheit right now. TVs everywhere. We got the PA up. So if you want to come by and listen to the show, stop by and listen to the show. We'd love to meet you guys. We're going to have almost everybody from the station on the program tonight. This is WNML Draft Central live at Twin Peaks. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I hear it sounds fantastic. I'm getting texts all over the place that this sounds freaking awesome. Is in, and with the 6th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Quentin Nelson, guard, Notre Dame. Guys, I think this is the pick that, to me, if it's not Saquon Barkley, this is the surest thing in the draft. It's Quentin Nelson, starter for your football team for as long as his body holds up. Brian Akins joins us now as well, along with Tyler Ivens and Joel Silverberg.
Carbon copied everything you just said.
Yeah.
This guy's got to protect your franchise quarterback. I get it. Luck hasn't thrown a football since the surgery at the beginning of last year. But when Luck does come back, and all signs are pointing to him being ready for this year's season, you got to take care of your guy. This, to me, if it's not Barkley, is the best. We always ask the question, did the best player go number 1 overall? He did not. The best player in the draft went either number 2 to the New York Giants or just now number 6 to the Indianapolis Colts.
Also, breaking news, Ian Rappaport with the report that the Bills are trading up to grab the 7th spot.
Wow. So the first trade of the draft that we've seen, that means that they must have felt like they needed to get in front of Miami, right? Yeah, to get their guy, because the Bills were picking at 12, the Dolphins at 11. Buccaneers have traded the picks to the Buffalo Bills. Your thoughts on the Quentin Nelson pick from the Indianapolis Colts? The Bills are now on the clock.
I think it's a really, really solid pick from Indianapolis. If Andrew Luck's coming back, you finally have to protect that investment that you've made, because a lot of people look at how the Colts haven't been winning big playoff games, how they've only gotten the one AFC title game, and they ask, well, what's Andrew Luck done for Indianapolis? The better question is, what has Indianapolis done for Andrew Luck? This is what Indianapolis is doing for Andrew Luck by drafting somebody like Nelson. You want to keep him from throwing as much as possible. You don't want Luck throwing 50, 60 times a game, so you have to bulk up that interior offensive line so that way you can run the football a little bit better. I think that's how you save Andrew Luck long term.
Brian Akins, your thoughts on Quentin Nelson going number 6 to the Indianapolis Colts?
I think it's a great pick. You need to protect Andrew Luck. He's not played in 23 games. He's not throwing a football. You need to protect him. You need to have a help for your running game. I think Quentin Nelson, as you've all said, is a surefire, a great player in the NFL, a long-term player as long as he stays healthy. So I think Quentin Nelson is a great pick for Indianapolis going forward.
I love how you asked the former offensive lineman about the offensive line.
Exactly. Vince Ferrara interviewed about 3 years ago a guy from the Indy Star, I believe, that was a beat writer for the Colts, and asked why they have Andrew Luck in that backfield under center and that offensive line in front of him. And the beat writer, I don't remember who it was, compared it to having a brand new Ferrari and parking it on the street. That's what the Indianapolis Colts were doing.
Pretty spot on.
You finally got a garage for Andrew Luck.
The details from Ian Rappaport, the Bills are giving up 2 second-round picks and the number 12 pick for the rights to move to number 7.
2 second-round picks and what?
And the number 7 pick. Or the number 12 pick, excuse me.
So they don't have to give up 22. They're just giving up one of their first rounders. So how about that? They hold on to not just the second first rounder in this draft. They end up not having to give up a first rounder for next year either. This is shrewd by the Bills. I love this trade by the Bills. Yeah?
Yeah, it just goes to show you what kind of talent's going to be waiting on day number 2.
Yeah.
Where 2 picks in the second round and essentially swapping picks in the first round is enough, a compensation to move up 6 picks, 5 picks. Good on Buffalo, good on their front office.
Which quarterback do you think they take?
Josh Rosen. I think it's Josh Rosen.
Ryan, Josh Rosen.
Who would you take, and who should they take? Who you would take, and who do you think they will take?
I think I would take Josh Rosen, and I also think they would take Josh Rosen. I think he's the best quarterback.
Joel?
I'm not going to answer because I've already seen it on Twitter.
Okay, well then Joel, stay out of it.
So I'm not going to tell you. I would take Josh Rosen, if that makes you feel better.
It needs to be Josh Rosen because here's the thing. If you look at Rosen, he's one of those guys who is ready to play now, and Buffalo's defense believes that they are the guy, that they have a defense that'll be able to compete in the AFC East next year.
I'm not sure if I counted this right, but we were talking about all the Browns quarterbacks since 1999. The Bills have started, it looks like 17 different quarterbacks since Jim Kelly retired in 1997.
I really thought J.P. Lawson was going to be the one to, I thought that he was going to be the one guy that ended that for the Buffalo Bills.
Really,
Pickens in for the Buffalo Bills. We will absolutely get this for you before we go to break here. But the pick is in for the Buffalo Bills. Roger Goodell steps to the podium to give the announcement for the Bills at number 7. With the 7th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Josh Allen, quarterback, Wyoming at number 7. So Rosen continues to fall.
How much longer do we have to go before Josh Rosen starts filling the same seat that Aaron Rodgers did about, what has it been now, 8 years ago?
Oh my goodness.
Brady Quinn that one year.
Rosen's, I think, at least strong enough not to be on the air because he's not been drafted in the early 20s. Right. There's at least that possibility. I got to be honest with you, that's absolutely nuts. And look, there's always the possibility that if you see NFL teams say no thanks, that there's something that they know that we don't, because they hire virtually the FBI to go do background checks on every player that comes through there. I just can't believe you watch Josh Allen play football You watch Josh Rosen play football, and you tell me you want Josh Allen instead of Josh Rosen.
Is the injury concern getting louder and louder? Are they seeing something that nobody else is seeing? But I will say this. I go back to the interview that Josh Rosen just had with Anthony Siciliano from the NFL Network, and he says, I don't want to be the number one pick. I don't want to be a top pick. Listen, here's the deal. I've been doubted my whole life. I was second in high school. I was second in Los Angeles, whatever, and he was bringing up the different prospects that USC was going out to get. He's like, I'm not sexy. I'm not Sam Darnold. I'm not Baker Mayfield, but I will tell you this. I will be the longest quarterback from this draft sticking in the NFL, and I'll prove it like I have since I was in high school.
On the other side, we'll give you a reaction. Josh Allen, the Bills trade up to draft Josh Allen, not Josh Rosen at number 7. Chicago Bears on the clock right now. We're live from Twin Peaks. WNML Draft Central Sports Radio, WNML. It's WNML Draft Central. The 8th pick is in. With the 8th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Roquan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia. Roquan Smith goes number 8 to the Chicago Bears. Not particularly surprising. I had Roquan Smith going there. Tyler Ivens, Joel Silverberg, Brian Akins here with us live at Twin Peaks where we do this. Your thoughts on Roquan Smith? Brian Akins, we'll start with you. Going number 8.
I think it's a great pick for Chicago. You need to fill in that middle linebacker role. Roquan Smith's a surefire pick. He's a great athlete. He's a great lateral movement, sideline to sideline, great speed. We saw how dominant he could be this past season. He did great in the national championship game, though they lost. But I think he's going to be a great asset to this Chicago Bears defense for the next several years.
Joe Silverberg.
I thought it was a no-brainer. I think Roquan Smith's a fantastic linebacker. I know Josh Ward was hoping that he would drop to the Oakland Raiders, but I do think for the Bears, it's a no-brainer pick, easy, and it fell right down to him at the 8th spot.
Do the Bears like taking Georgia linebackers or what? Because they go get Leonard Floyd last year. Now they get Roquan Smith. You brought it up, sideline to sideline. He can run a 4.5 40. Vic Fangio right now is saying, maybe not need the monsters in the midway, but this is a darn good start.
It's a good start. It's a very good start. Love this pick. San Francisco 49ers are now on the clock. This fits a need for the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
And now for the need, I think I had them taking Roquan. You did as well, Brian. Joel, who did you have the Bears taking at number 8?
I didn't do a mock draft.
Oh, you did?
But I would have, the way that I saw this filling out, I would have thought at this point, you got to take Roquan Smith.
Next time, just lie and say, yes, of course I said that. Tyler Ivens, who you take?
You know what? I honestly believe, I thought that Roquan Smith would make it to Oakland down at 10, and I was just, maybe I had Josh Ward has rubbed off on me a little bit because I was imagining a defense that had Khalil Mack as well as Roquan Smith, but look, the Bears, that's their need. They got it. They continue to win.
A pick as far as I'm concerned. The San Francisco 49ers pick is in. They need edge rusher, guard, corner. Yes, they brought in Richard Sherman. You need 3 starting cornerbacks in the National Football League right now. 59% of snaps in the National Football League this past year. 11 personnel, meaning you have to have 3 cornerbacks on the field. Wide receiver, tight end. Who do you guys think the pick's going to be? This is where I had Denzel Ward going. He went at 4. So Tyler Ivens, who should it be? Who will it be?
Who should it be? It should be Mika Fitzpatrick. Who do I think it'll be? Derwin James. I think it's both safe positions, but I think it's one of those questions of who do you think's the better?
And Fitzpatrick can play that slot corner as well. He can play that nickel corner, that third corner for you.
I was so sure that it was Josh Rosen earlier for the Bills, that it was Josh Allen, so now it's safety. It should be Mika Fitzpatrick. It will be Derwin James.
Joel Silverberg.
I think it should be Mike McClinchy. I think if you're going to give Jimmy Garoppolo a long-term contract, I think you need to keep him on his feet. And I love Mike McClinchy. I think he's the best tackle that's available in this draft this year. But I think it will be Mika Fitzpatrick. Remember the comment that I made about an early draft pick for a particular position leading to a lot of that same position being drafted? Watch out for Josh Jackson if he potentially gets taken.
That's not a bad take. That's not a bad take, Brian.
And to piggyback off what you said, Joel, I had Josh Ward at 7 with Tampa Bay, and they made the trade, so he's still available. I also agree with Tyler. I think Mika Fitzpatrick should be the surefire pick right here. Great safety. He's an all-around athlete. I think he's one of the best players in this draft. So I think if you have them available, take them. You need to help that secondary.
Do they view Minka Fitzpatrick as a corner? He said at the combine, I am a slot corner. This is what I am. You had Nick Saban tell everybody in the NFL he's a safety. And so it's going to be interesting to see the read that people have on this. San Francisco 49ers pick is in with the ninth pick of the 2018 NFL Draft. The Niners take Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame.
Joel, you need to stop cheating and look at
There you
Twitter.
go, Joel.
No, I didn't look at Twitter.
That's how it works. We got Mel Kiper Twitter over here.
No, that's a good pick for them. I like that. Look, you need tackle. He's the best tackle on the board. I know maybe you're reaching, but if that's a position to need for you, he's probably a right, not a left, but these days that doesn't matter nearly as much as
He has significant reps at both, which gives him so much versatility. He spent a lot of time at Notre Dame, both the left tackle spot, the right tackle spot, whatever he plays in the NFL, who knows? But he is a guy, as Tom McShay believes, that he can be plugged in and play right away, which you need. If you really want to invest in Jimmy Garoppolo long term, get yourself a tackle that can keep Jimmy Garoppolo upright. I think he's got great versatility, and he's continuing to grow and get stronger. 6'8", over 300 pounds. I love his size. I think he's fantastic.
49er fans have been using the hashtag PYI, protect your investment. This is the pick they needed.
Yeah, Brian Akins.
It's a great pick. Like you said, protect your investment. You signed quarterback to a long-term deal. So, I mean, great pick. And for me, as a Green Bay Packer fan, I think leaving Minka Fitzpatrick on the board is great.
Is that a good thing for you? You don't mind that at all? Unbelievable.
Unbiased analysis.
Yeah, look, we're three quarterbacks in, and we're coming up on the 10th pick, and you know that the Raiders are not taking quarterback right now, so Rosen continues to fall. Raiders are on the clock. 6 minutes to go. I like the McGlinchey pick. I think, look, but it's interesting to see two of the top 9 picks are offensive linemen out of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
We talked about it during the season. I think that Josh and I both thought the best unit in college football last year was Notre Dame's offensive line. And you see starting guard goes number 6 overall, starting tackle goes number 9 overall. I like McGlinchey a lot. I don't know that he's Joe Thomas, but I think he's a guy that's going to be there for 8 years as your starting tackle. And yes, maybe he's the right side. That does not matter nearly as much as it used to in the NFL.
All right, so the Raiders are on the clock right now at 10. Can we just quickly reset at 9 and find out where it went off the tracks? Baker Mayfield at 1. All right, say what you
Yes.
Saquon Barkley at Giants at 2. Chalk so far. Sam Darnold to get the quarterback you need to trade up for. That's 3. And just as I say that, here come the Arizona Cardinals.
The Raiders have traded back with the Arizona Cardinals. We'll give you the details on the trade as soon as those come in. We all know what's happening there, right?
Absolutely. This is where you go get Josh Rosen.
This is shrewd Arizona Cardinals.
And Miami all of a sudden win. But we were next.
Oh, my goodness.
You want to talk about a filthy move right now.
That is dirty.
Every Dolphins fan right now is cussing the city of Phoenix.
That's
like, can't do this.
That's like you had the rook card the whole time when you were sandbagging. That's what that is right now.
This is
with what the Cardinals just did to the Raiders.
Well, this is what I was saying off the break. I was just talking to Brian about it, that it's looking like the Dolphins are going to get their guy, and the only team that I think was likely to trade into that 9 or that 10 spot, because I didn't think the Bears were going to shy away. I think they were going to take Roquan Smith at 8, but it wouldn't have surprised me if the Cardinals had jumped into the 9 or the 10 spot with either the 49ers or the Raiders, and that's exactly what they did. Then this is interesting. Now I wonder what the Dolphins are going to do to address their quarterback need, assuming Arizona, which I would imagine, will take Josh Rosen.
Okay, Josh Rosen, Brian, is that who you think it's going to be?
I think so. With a trade like this, you've got to take Josh Rosen.
Was it the right move for the Cardinals to make that move and go get their guy at QB? I think it's the best move I've seen in this entire draft. I love this move.
Let me see what the asking price was by the Oakland Raiders. What did the Raiders just get from Arizona? If they get a treasure trove of picks back, this could be highway robbery right now, but I want to see what exactly Oakland's going to get back in return from Arizona.
I just think that the thing is this: if that's all Buffalo had to give up, I don't think they got a ton.
They're moving up the same amount that Buffalo did with Tampa Bay.
Exactly.
So
I don't think they're getting a ton. I don't think they're going to give up a ton. And if you're the Cardinals acquire the 10th pick overall from the Raiders, we will give you an update on that as it happens. Live at Twin Peaks. Here's where we are right now. If you're looking for a place to watch the draft, this is the place to do it. We got the PA up in the patio. You can listen to it there, or sit outside. You can listen to ESPN's broadcast in the dining room if that's where you want to be. This is the ultimate sports lodge. Draft beer flowing at 29.5 degrees Fahrenheit. You will love the Nashville hot chicken sandwich. I was a chicken quesadillas. They are incredible. Right now, watching the draft, it's been buck wild. 3 minutes left at pick number 10. The Arizona Cardinals are on the clock right now.
Just in case you were wondering, beer right now. I have a thermostat in front of me, 29.5 degrees.
Not bad. Not bad at all. So stop by and see us. The food here's fantastic. Service is absolutely legendary. Fantastic place. Every sports package there possibly can be on the market, they have it here at Twin Peaks. Okay, overall, we're going to reset our draft pick for us, Tyler. You were hitting on that.
We got to number 4 with the Browns, and that's when Denzel Ward from Ohio State left the table. Is that where everybody's going to start tomorrow with the ripple effect?
Yeah, that's where it went nuts. That's where it went completely off the rails, is Denzel Ward at number 4.
Bradley Chubb goes 5 to the Denver Broncos. Quentin Nelson, 6 to the Indianapolis Colts. Josh Allen, that was supposed to be Tampa Bay's pick. Quickly, the Bills, they end up trading up, and they get the quarterback from the Mountain West of Wyoming. That's where Roquan Smith from Georgia fell to the Bears at 8. Mike McGlinchey, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame, goes 9. And then all of a sudden, the Raiders, what do? They just sit back and wait for the phone to ring. If you're just now joining us here on 99.1 FM Sports Radio WNML, the number 10 pick now belongs to the Arizona Cardinals.
Ian Rappaport reporting the Cardinals gave up the number 15 pick, the number 79 pick, and the number 152. That is all they gave up, a third and a fourth, to move up from 15 to 10 ahead of the Dolphins and draft their QB of the future. It's a solid move. Oh, that's massive.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Especially with Josh Rosen still available.
So let's play hypothetical right now. Rosen is the pick right now at 10. What's been the biggest surprise right now? Denver getting Bradley Chubb at 5. The Bills trading up to get Josh Allen at 7. Or now we potentially believe Josh Rosen is going to be now the quarterback of the future for the Buffalo Bills. I'm giving you 3 options.
I think the Josh Rosen to the Cardinals, to me, is for them to trade now and get him. Shrewdest move in the draft, most surprising move in the draft, and we've already had 3 massively surprising moves.
4 quarterbacks in the top 10. If this is Josh Rosen.
Yeah.
4 quarterbacks who go in the first pick.
That is unbelievable. And look, the biggest shocker to me is no one's giving up much of anything. The Bills got, if you look at the draft value calculator, the Bills got for barely over half of what the normal value is to move up the number of picks. That's what the Bills gave up to have to move up to number 7, and the Cardinals gave up even less than that. Cardinals pick is in right now. Is it Josh Rosen or the field, Brian?
I think it's got to be Josh Rosen.
Joel Silverberg, Josh Rosen, or anybody else?
And to answer Tyler's question, the shock value for me with this trade is more in what they had to give up to get there. Once Buffalo took Josh Allen, you knew that they had to trade up to get into the top 10.
A 3rd and a 5th round pick. That is all they gave up to get to move from 15 to 10. When you talk about draft value, that is unbelievable. Josh Ward comes in, noted Raiders fan. The Arizona Cardinals pick is in. Rod just head to the podium. Josh Ward, is this the right move by your Raiders?
Well, I think it is. I would have liked to seen the Raiders get a little bit more, but I think the earlier trade told you you're not going to get quite as much as you hope.
Yeah.
But moving back, they can still get a quality player to 15 and add, I think, a couple of quality players later in the draft. I think it's the right move.
Linebacker's still there. Positions of need are still there for the Raiders right now because the tackle's gone. So what do you do?
What
right?
if they coveted a guy like Roquan Smith and he's off the board? That can incentivize you to move back.
And the pick is in. The Arizona Cardinals with the 10th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft take Josh Rosen, quarterback of UCLA.
Can I brag on your co-host a little bit? Josh, in your mock draft, who did you have the Arizona Cardinals taking?
I had the Arizona Cardinals trading up to take quarterback Josh Rosen.
There you go.
I just had them trading up a couple of spots higher. But I thought Arizona might go after the West Coast guy to play for the West Coast team. I think it's a good move by Arizona, by the way. They don't have to give up too much, and if they have their quarterback of the future, to trade a 3rd and a 5th round pick for that guy, I think it's the right move.
I think it's the best move of the draft so far. I think that is just unbelievably true. So if you're Josh Rosen, the move, the whole 9 yards, to me that's an A+ grade. I think it's fantastic.
4 quarterbacks in the top 10 picks. Did you see this coming?
Yeah, I don't think that surprised me.
I thought we'd see 4 in the top 6 or 7.
I would say right now, if you're asking me where do the 8 grades go, who are the teams that have acquired the pieces that they need, give me the Giants with an A for Saquon Barkley, give me the Jets with an A for Sam Darnold, give me the Colts for an A and Quentin Nelson, and you know what? Josh Rosen to Arizona, I'll give that an A as well.
I would tell Josh Rosen, get a different training regimen than his teammate, Sam Bradford. I keep those 2 apart.
Oh, he's going to get playing time this year. Because if there's anything with a more lock in the world, it's that Sam Bradford's not playing 16, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. But Rosen's the guy healthy. I think he's ready to go in and play football this year.
Mike Glennon's mother doesn't appreciate me saying that. But I'm getting tight. Josh Rosen, could Josh Rosen start week 1 for Arizona if he impresses in training camp?
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay.
It's not off the table. I'll say that. Not off the table. Joel Silverberg, you're great for Josh Rosen. To move up from the Cardinals and then to draft Josh Rosen.
The pick overall today, great for me. It's the best move that I think we've seen in the first top 10 picks. I don't know if he's going to have the best career out of the first 10 guys that we've taken, but Arizona, what they had to give up to get there, especially after the Buffalo trade, that's an A-grade pick for me from Arizona.
Yeah, this is the first time in the modern NFL draft history that 4 QBs go in the top 10 picks. Mayfield first, Darnold third, Allen seventh, Rosen 10th, Paul Meyerberger, pal from USA Today, throwing that one out. First time in history, 4 quarterbacks in the top 10. Miami Dolphins are on the clock. 6 minutes left for them of time to get their pick in. Overall, Josh Ward, you're just now joining us. The pick that surprised you the most, was it Denzel Ward at 4? Or was it? Yeah,
it'd have to be. I thought they'd go Bradley Chubb, just like I think you guys thought that they would go that route.
I mean, football thought that.
Yeah, when they decided to keep that pick, and I would have thought that was a great choice. I think getting Bradley Chubb in Denver, if you're not going to go quarterback, I think that's a really good pick for them. I would have probably thought quarterback in that spot if I were Denver, but the one that surprised me the most for sure was Denzel Ward. I kind of came off the idea of Denver going with the quarterback with that 5th pick earlier today, so Ward was a guy that was thought of as the top corner, but would he go that high? I know Brian Akins here thought that he'd be in that range, but I didn't think that he would. So, but you know, if he is a top flight corner, you've got to shut down passing games, and in that division, you go up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's just the way the league is headed. If you think that he's the best corner, that's up for debate, and I do look at the back half of that first round and say, well, there are a lot of guys there, but then we look at other trades that were made, and you're not getting that much. How much were they going to get if they tried to move back? Maybe that's why they stuck with the 4th pick.
Yeah, Miami Dolphins are on the clock right now. Their needs: defensive line, linebacker, quarterback. They drafted Lamar Jackson this high? Did you draft Lamar Jackson at 11?
If you're not getting a quarterback now, you're waiting most likely. You've got Mason Rudolph that's hanging around there. Could be an early 2nd, late 1st, but if you want a quarterback, it's Lamar. You're waiting for a while, probably.
I haven't seen him in a mock, but I actually have seen some analysts say that their 5th best quarterback in this draft is Rudolph and not Jackson. And so I wonder if the Dolphins want to go ahead and take this chance on Lamar Jackson, do they want to trade back? Or do they want to address a different position need here first and try to figure something out early in the 2nd round? But I mean, they told Ryan Tannehill earlier today that even if we do draft a quarterback in the 1st round, you will be our starting quarterback in 2018.
Who's the best available player right now with Miami's picking at 11? Is it Minka?
Yeah, it was Minka Fitzpatrick. Look, they need corner. They don't need safety that much, right? So that's kind of what you're looking at. Do you draft Josh Jackson this high? That's going to be the question. And we've heard, did they make that run on corners? Ward went higher than we thought. Could Jackson go higher than we thought, I think, as well?
In my time covering Iowa, Josh Jackson is an interesting story. He was buried on the depth chart. They were trying to work him in as a punt returner until one day injuries mounted in Iowa City, and he said, can I try cornerback? Next thing you know it, people started challenging him in the Big Ten. He starts leading the nation in interceptions. Now he goes from possibly transferring 2 years ago to now getting a 1st-round baby bonus. It's incredible.
Yeah, but I think they go defense here. Tremaine Edmonds, can he be a possibility with Roquan Smith being off the board? That's something to pay attention to. But I would think they go position, not quarterback here.
Pick is in. Raj is walking up to the podium right now to make the pick. With the 11th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Minka Fitzpatrick, safety out of Alabama.
If you're Miami right now, was the pick going to be a quarterback, and are you still right now frustrated with Arizona's move? And I have to ask, if you're Miami and you need a quarterback that bad, that's a ransom they can pay. That's a ransom they can pay.
I think that was going to fall to
a third. Maybe they just sat back and they thought the draft was going to come to them. But a 3rd and 4th rounder to get a difference maker. The Bills did what they needed to do. The Jets did what they needed to do. Now the question is, how much longer does Tom Brady hold on in New England? So far right now, the Bills and the Jets have got it right in the AFC East. To me, they drafted somebody who is the best available, but not a position of need.
Wouldn't the Raiders communicate with both, though, if they've got an offer from Arizona?
They're negotiating.
You're right.
You talk to Miami, and Miami knows that trade's on the board, and you know why they're moving up. So it tells me that maybe Miami was going to go with a different position.
And they may not have been going Rosen the entire time. They owe $19 million this year to Ryan Tannehill one way or the other. We had all the reports that Adam Gase fell in love with Josh Rosen. You never know if somebody else out there, because it's not necessarily been playoffs left and right for Miami, you never know if somebody in the front office said, I don't think we're going to make that move. But at how cheap it was to move up so far in this draft, at around half of the actual normal trade value chart value, that's what you have to give up. I would have thought you made that move if you wanted to. Dolphins get their pick of Minka Fitzpatrick. Your thoughts on that pick, Josh?
Well, I thought he was the best available player probably there. So to get a good defensive back that can come in, we've almost laughed at people that have said, well, what position does he play? And the position he's going to play is one that he's going to be effective in. So you put him on the football field just like the Jacksonville Jaguars did with Jalen Ramsey. Is he going to be as good as Ramsey? We'll find out. But I think it's a really good pick for them. He's a guy that could have easily been a top 8 guy. And because of how some other teams decided to make some moves because of the importance of quarterback, he slides back a little bit. So I think a quality play there for Miami.
Joe Silverberg, good thoughts on Minka Fitzpatrick to the Dolphins?
He's got a lot of versatility. I think he's great at playing center field, but he's coming out and saying, hey, I'm a slot corner, and I think that's a little bit different than what Derwin James was saying when he told Bill Ryder from CBS, no, I'm a safety. I am a straight-up safety. So it makes me wonder, probably, I would think Tampa Bay is going to take Derwin James right here off the board, keeping the Tallahassee guy in the state of Florida. So I think it's a really good pick, though, for Miami to be able to get Minka Fitzpatrick, because I think he was arguably the best defensive back in this draft.
And in my mock draft, I had Derwin James going to Tampa Bay. So if you're the Buccaneers right now, you stock up on more draft bullets, and you still get the guy that you were going to get the entire time.
I will say that I like Fitzpatrick. You tell me the last Alabama defensive back that made it.
I can think of two who had
Lingham. You know what I mean? Like
Dean Milner. No.
Yeah.
I mean, we can keep going through the list.
No, look, Lenny Collins is great, right? I mean, he's great. Clinton Dix is great. But you're talking about corners. If this guy's going to play corner, the key is this: he's probably going to play safety. He's probably going to play free safety. He's probably going to be pretty good at that. You don't have the same level of value at the free safety position as you do at that slot corner position. Maybe Minka Fitzpatrick talks them into letting him play there. Look, if there's one Alabama corner, though, that looks like he can get it done, to me, it's Minka Fitzpatrick. That guy, when you watch him play, has just been a baller for multiple years. And it's not a 1 year, you watch him dominate, then he goes to the draft. You watch him multiple seasons dominate, then go to the draft. So it makes you feel good that this wasn't a flash. This is what this guy is as a player.
There is a uniqueness with Minka Fitzpatrick coming out of college that we did not have, I think, with Landon Collins or Clinton Dix. I think there's something very special about Minka Fitzpatrick that separates him to a degree from those other two guys. And so, sure, Alabama defensive backs not having this elite success that they've had in college that they hope to have in the NFL, I think Minka Fitzpatrick is the guy that could change that if he fits into the right mold.
Brian Akins.
I agree. Minka Fitzpatrick, he's a great player, great tackler. That's one thing that you don't see with a lot of these secondary players. They're not great tacklers. He's an outstanding tackler. He's a great athlete. He's huge. He's a big guy to play in that secondary for this Miami Dolphins team. Like I said before, I would love to see him going to my team, but Minka Fitzpatrick is a great pick, great move by Miami there.
Yeah, okay, so the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock. The pick is in for the Bucs. Needs, running back, cornerback, defensive line, safety, offensive line. Joel, you said you think it's going to be Derwin James.
I thought it was going to be Derwin James at 7. When I saw them trade back, I thought they could still get him there because I didn't think anybody else was going to take a safety in the next 5 picks. So I think Tampa Bay gets James. I think they get their guy at 12.
Derwin James in the field. Who do you have?
I think the next 3 picks are chalk. I think it's very obvious who the next picks. It should be obvious, but we got kind of crazy the last couple of picks, have we not? I think you go Derwin James here, and I think the Redskins and Packers, who are both rumored to move up, they stand pat, and they might get the prize that's waiting on them.
Yeah, maybe so.
I have Josh Jackson going in.
It could absolutely be Josh Jackson. I can 100% see it being Josh Jackson to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My concern with Derwin James is when you talk about Jalen Ramsey was a guy that could play corner or safety. And so when you look at kind of a slash defensive back, Derwin James is a safety that needs to play in the box to be the most effective. And that's not, he's not athletic enough to play out there. I just kind of wonder exactly where the value is for Derwin James in Tampa Bay's system. That's something that I guess I'm a little concerned about. A young cornerback. Josh Jackson, to me, fills a bigger need. Derwin James, though, does fill a need. Are you going to line him up as an edge rusher or something like that? Is that what you're going to do on some down? You might. When you say, look, Tyrann Mathieu played well in kind of that slash position. Derwin James is a much bigger version of Tyrann Mathieu, right?
Is Derwin James going to help you clean up being last in the NFL in sacks, last in third down defense, pass defense, and yards on defense?
Yeah.
Does he clean that up?
I don't think he does. But does one corner do that?
Then what you do is you do what Miami just did. You go for value.
Yeah.
I think on defense, Tampa likes to go for the splash play guy. When you look at a guy like Gerald McCoy and you add somebody like Derwin James to that mix, guys that can make plays at different levels of the defensive part of the field, I think that's what Tampa's looking for when they pick up Derwin James, if that's what they do here.
Pick us in with the 11th pick of the 12th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers surprise us all. Vita Vea, defensive tackle out of Washington.
You see the tape on this guy?
41 reps on the bench press at the NFL Combine. He can ball too. Here's what he is. He's Warren Sapp. I take 2 blockers and I change the line of scrimmage every play I'm on the field.
Anytime you see this guy play, and maybe you were in bed when Pac-12 After Dark was on, I've never seen a guy get better when he's facing a double team. He's one-on-one, okay, yeah, coverage sacks. But whenever you have running backs trying to come up and be that second line of defense, this guy's better when he's double teamed. He is throwing offensive linemen around. Teams that pride themselves on offensive line. He was physical against USC, physical against Stanford, physical against Arizona. You can watch the tape on him. Go to YouTube, or if you're watching one of the coverages on Fox, NFL, or ESPN, the guy, look, this guy is just running himself unjust.
Running through a first-round draft pick in Colton Miller, the left tackle for UCLA.
He bulldozes people, Will.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Look, you say he's Warren Sapp. Guess what? There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be excited watching him going after Drew Brees, going after people like Matt Ryan and Cam Newton.
Brian Akins, the former lineman, your thoughts? Vita, the defensive tackle out of Washington.
Vita, he's a great player. He's an outstanding defensive tackle. Like you said, Tyler, he's great. He's much better when he's double teamed, and he's going to be great for this Tampa Bay team, opening up lanes for that linebacking core, be able to get to the quarterback, get to the running back, and make great plays behind the line of scrimmage.
Washington is on the clock. We'll be back live at Twin Peaks, where we're watching the NFL Draft. Stop by and watch it with us. It's Sports Radio WNML Draft Central. Sports Radio WNML. 2018 NFL Draft. The Washington Redskins take Deron Payne, defensive tackle out of Alabama. I don't know that half of mock drafts had him going in the first round, much less number 13 overall. But the Washington Redskins take Deron Payne out of Alabama. Deron Payne goes number 14 or 13 overall to the Washington Redskins. We just mentioned it. Vita, it's the guy they wanted. They had the worst run defense in the NFL, so what they do is just draft the next guy down their list, right, at the same position of need. Vince Ferrara joins us now on the program. How are you, Vince?
Yeah, I'm good. That's exactly what they did. They took a position of need. He's a great run stopper. He'll give you some pass rush. And they've now paired him up with last year's first-round pick from Alabama, Jonathan Allen, to build that Crimson Tide defensive line there with Washington. I think it's outstanding. But you're right. I think Vita was their first pick.
Yeah, that had to be the guy. Joel Silverberg, we now have a trade for the number 14 pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah, the Saints jumping up to grab that 14 pick from Green Bay, jumping up all the way from, where are they at, 27? So quite a jump there for New Orleans. Interested to see what they do here. But I like the pick of Deron Payne from Washington. I was telling Brian right before the break, that's where they could go here now that Vita is off the board. And that's what they did. I know a lot of people didn't have him going that high. Brian actually had him going at 13 in his first mock draft. But still, an interesting pick there. I don't hate it. I don't hate it for Washington.
I said that. I thought it would go Tremaine Edmonds because they need run stoppers, they need linebacker, they need defensive tackle, they need middle of the defense. They decide Brian Akins to go middle of the defense, but they go with Deron Payne, the number 2 defensive tackle to most people in this draft.
Well, you mentioned linebackers, and Deron Payne in that middle part of the defensive line is going to be a great help to the linebackers they do have right now, opening up lanes and helping that defensive front get offensive linemen off of their linebacker course so they can get to the ball carrier much faster. So Deron Payne is a great athlete. We saw how great he was in the 2 playoff games. But I think it's a great pick by Washington.
And Will, let me say this. I'm going to throw this out there now. For New Orleans to move up like they just did this aggressively, don't sleep on Lamar Jackson here.
Oh, man.
I had them.
Man, you've mentioned it to me since we've been starting our draft coverage maybe 5 weeks ago.
It was in my first version.
Yeah.
Since then, I think some wide receivers would fall to him and they would go that direction. And I think Lamar Jackson would be gone before you got to New Orleans. For them to jump up over some teams that I think could draft Lamar Jackson, like the Bengals like perhaps Baltimore.
Baltimore's a place where I thought he possibly could go.
I think this is the only move for you to make that big of a jump is if you're looking at the quarterback of the future. And Sean Payton has said some really high compliments about Lamar Jackson.
Look, the Saints need tight end, wide receiver, offensive line, edge, quarterback of the future. And that could absolutely be the way that it goes. Saints are on the clock right now. They trade up from number 27 to number 14. The Packers trade back. Brian Akins, you're a Packers fan. Are you okay with the Packers trade back?
I will be okay once I see what the Packers gave up to get to that. What they lost. Obviously, they lost the 14th pick. The question also is, do the Saints go tight end? And if they go tight end here, which one goes first? Is it Hayden Hurst or is it Dallas Goedert? Which one goes?
Yeah, I don't think that you trade up like that for a tight end because you could have got one or the other, right? And I think you could have got one or the other after the 25.
Any of the three.
Yeah.
Frankly, you could have.
Yes.
Yeah.
You absolutely could have out of Penn State. Saints traded this year's one and next year's one and a 5th round pick to Green Bay. So the Packers pick up an extra one next year and a 5th round pick. Based on what everybody else is getting 60 cents on the dollar, I feel like you got $1.20 on the dollar, Brian.
Yeah, I agree. That's good.
Unless they, here's another one. Either they love one of the pass rushers that they don't think will be there at the end of the first round, and I think a lot of mocks don't have them having a great pass rusher, or Calvin Ridley, because we're in Calvin Ridley range too. And if that's the guy, or maybe one of the wide receivers that could be gone, could be a move for a wide receiver. That's a steep price.
That is a steep price.
You mentioned the edge rushers. I'm thinking Tremaine Edwards. Will, you thought he would be there with the last pick. Edwards, even though he's 19, a lot of people think he, not Roquan Smith, is actually the best linebacker in this draft. I could see them taking Edmonds here. And also Marcus Davenport, the edge rusher, the defensive end out of UTSA. That's a program that's not very old. I think they joined the FBS in 2011, 12? Around that area.
He's a monster, yeah.
Which started with Larry Coker, went to a bowl game last year. And he's been getting a lot of love and being a little bit higher up in the mid-first round potentially.
Okay, I'll ask you, Lamar Jackson, is it Lamar Jackson? You're a Saints fan. Is that who you want as a Saints fan, and is that who they will take?
I would love it. I think that he is a guy that will develop. He's continued to get better. He's my favorite quarterback in this draft. I think Sean Payton, where that guy will adapt his offense to his skill set, like the Texans did with Deshaun Watson. That would be a great spot for Lamar Jackson. He doesn't have to play right away. I would love it.
I got to tell you, you're not giving up a second one to not draft a quarterback, right? Yeah. I mean, I can't fathom that. Sean Payton's not an idiot. And so as shrewd of a guy as he is, he's not a guy that likes to go willy-nilly trading all over the place. Mm-hmm. If he traded up and gave up a next year's one for this, to me, Brian Akins, it's to draft a quarterback, right?
You would think. I mean, and like you said with Lamar Jackson, you put him in the backfield with Alvin Kamara and running back from Alabama,
Mark Ingram.
Yeah, Mark Ingram. I think that's a great athleticism in the backfield with that team.
Quarterback or no?
If it's going to be, the only thing I can think of is that they were trying to get in front of New England, and the Packers were the only team willing to deal up that high so that they could jump in front of New England. Because I don't know, maybe outside Baltimore, I don't know if anybody else would have been willing to draft Lamar Jackson that high in the first round.
I had the Bengals in my last mock.
They could have. They absolutely could have.
Yeah. And I really like Lamar Jackson. I want him to succeed. I believe that he can, but I do think that he's the type of quarterback that can't start week one his rookie season. I think he needs to sit. New Orleans would be perfect for him.
This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect for Lamar Jackson. The type of offense that it is, the guy that he's going to sit behind, the fact that he's going to sit for 2 years. Yeah. That's okay. That's absolutely okay. He's the heir apparent coming in. You just want to make sure there's no Breeze's competitive guy. So you want to make sure there's no Rodgers Favre situation there. But if you understand, hey, Jackson's going to play when you're done, to me, this is just having an incredibly wise succession plan by Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints. And as good of a move as I thought Arizona's was, this is a lot more to give up than Arizona did. This might be even more shrewd of a move because you're not setting yourself up for next year, the year after. You're setting yourself up for another decade of having your quarterback already in the fold.
I realize a lot of people are not high on Lamar Jackson. Here's the thing. He was the offense at Louisville. Didn't really have much of an offensive line. The 3 years that he was there, Louisville didn't have a single 5-star recruit. They never finished higher than 6 in the ACC in recruiting, and they never finished in the top 30 in the nation. I think Lamar Jackson, and he plays in an offense that basically runs on one motto, feed the studs. You put him in an offense like New Orleans, a couple years from now, Alvin Kamara is your running back, I would love to see it. I don't know if that's going to be the pick here, but I would love to see that him in New Orleans 3 years from now.
Again, I just can't fathom, Vince, you give up an extra one and you don't get a quarterback.
Yeah.
What other position do you possibly do that?
Edge rusher.
Roger
I mean, that's not what you would do here, but that's the only other thing I could see them doing here.
Roger Goodell makes his way to the podium as the Saints pick 14th in the 2018 NFL Draft. The Green Bay Packers, again, trade back to 27 with the New Orleans Saints. They're at 27. They pick up next year's one in a 5th round this year. With the 14th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints take defensive end Marcus Davenport out of UT San Antonio. Joel Silverberg, you said it might happen. I can't imagine giving up that much for this guy. Vince, they gave up an extra one to move up to get Marcus Davenport.
Yeah, that's a steep price. He's a high upside guy.
He is.
There's some people that have said that they think he has more upside than Bradley Chubb, but man, he's potentially, because he's so raw. He's one of those guys that you might not be able to play right away, and for an edge rusher like that, you want instant impact from him.
It's a poor man's Myles Garrett, because you look at the 4.5 40 time, and you look at the intangibles, and you look at the size and the speed.
But he's
that
built like
comes
a tackle that runs a 4.5 40 though, which is kind of odd.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but coming off the edge like that, and I'm doing it at a school that's, well, quite frankly, that's not in the SEC, but you see what he does. It's just his film that's running over people, and you like the film, you like the athleticism, but I feel like that's a steep price and a really risky pick. That could backfire. That could be the most backfired draft pick of this first round.
It's as questionable because of what they gave up and how little everybody else was giving up. This will be one of the more highly scrutinized picks, I believe.
You know who's happy right now is Jimmy Himes, because they addressed the defense in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Look, he can play down a stance. He can play standing up.
Yeah.
He's frankly, he's Von Miller more than he is anybody else, right?
I mentioned the SEC making a sack here on his film when they played against Texas A&M this year, so beating the A&M left tackle.
But he's this size of a defensive tackle that runs like a linebacker or an outside linebacker.
He's also the very first round pick in our UTSA.
There you go. That's not bad at all. But look, it's Marcus Davenport. I don't hate, like, again, if you didn't give up an extra one, I would say nice pick. But the fact that you gave up an extra one, I'm looking at this saying, don't miss. That's kind of how I look at this.
Well, another thing we have to factor in is who drafted better last year than the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
Crickets, because nobody did. And so you might give them the benefit of the doubt that they've identified a guy that'll work
And
out.
you look what happened 2 years ago. The Titans opt to use the 10 pick on Jack Conklin. He comes out to be an All-Pro a couple years later. So you say in John Robinson we trust when they draft Corey Davis with the number 5 pick. When you have a year like the Saints did last year, you get the offensive and the defensive rookies of the year. You hold off right here off this pick because you proved it last year. Your fans give you the benefit of the
You're
doubt.
going to get the benefit of the doubt. Raiders are on the clock. We'll be back right here. Sports Radio WNML's Draft Central live at Twin Peaks. Sports Radio WNML. Thank you. All right. This is insane. I mean, I don't mind it.
I had been taking McGlinchey, so I'm not necessarily surprised they went with the offensive line.
I thought he was destined for the Patriots, Miller.
I did too.
I didn't even have him picked in the first round.
He's been getting a lot of buzz.
Pro Football Focus has him as been.
Yep, and if you'll text me the outside. Thank you. Live from Twin Peaks, it's WNML Draft Central from Twin Peaks. Josh Ward's with us. Your Raiders have picked. You picked Colton Miller, offensive tackle from UCLA.
Well, I'm not necessarily surprised because I thought there was a good chance that the Raiders could go first with the first round pick with an offensive lineman. I had them projected to take McGlinchey, the offensive lineman from Notre Dame, who actually went a spot before them, before they traded back. But Colton Miller may be a little bit of a stretch. There's also a concern, though, on how quality the top of the offensive tackle board is. And if you feel like you really need to get one and you don't think you have many options, that's why you end up maybe reaching a little bit.
There's not another one with a first-round grade, unless you want to say Orlando Brown and just forget what happened at the Combine, right?
And I think most projections had him somewhere in the back half of the first round. That he's going to be somewhere in the 20s. I've seen some Patriots talk with Colton Miller. So if you thought, well, we're not going to be able to move back again, and we want to really get an offensive lineman, I just think you could have maybe gone for a guy that has a little more upside in terms of talent. Again, if it's a need that you're addressing, and that would appear to be the case, that's probably the way you have to go.
Buffalo Bills are on the clock as they traded back earlier. So right now, if Brian Akins, your thoughts, Colton Miller, a guy most people thought goes in the early 20s, they ends up going to 50.
Well, I think he's got a great upside. He's a great pass blocker. He's also a really good run blocker.
He's a really good run blocker, and he got better as a pass blocker
Yeah,
as
he's
well.
gotten a lot better.
Season. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how they use him in Oakland, if he's a quick player or if he gets on the field.
Yeah, that's a new trade there.
Yeah, new trade. Bills with the Ravens. The Ravens pick up, they switch picks. The 22nd pick, Buffalo jumps from 22 to 16. They get a 5th round pick, 154 overall. The Ravens get the 22nd overall pick and a 3rd round pick, and the 65th pick overall. So the Bills are on the clock right now, and their pick is already in. Vince Ferrara, your thoughts on Colton Miller to the Oakland Raiders?
Well, he's a guy that I think you're right. There weren't any other tackles with first-round grades, unless you count the guys that are both tackles and guards, like a Connor Williams, like an Isaiah Wynn from Georgia. But there's more depth in the interior guys. So I think if it addresses a need, I'm fine with it. The Patriots loved him, and you know that they can spot offensive linemen. So I think that's where I thought he would go. Just a little bit early, hey, it's still, if he's a good player, he'll be fine.
Have you ever seen a team move up twice and give up as little as the Buffalo Bills have in this draft, Josh?
Well, I was going to say they're getting rid of a few of those middle round picks, but they do have a bunch of middle round picks.
5 of the first 65, yeah.
And they probably look at it and say, well, we've got a couple of first rounders, we can get a couple of difference makers. Of course, you go with the quarterback, which you hope can be a difference maker there, but they are being very aggressive. I think that's fair to say, the Buffalo Bills are.
Bills need a wide receiver, right? This has to be Calvin Ridley that you pair with Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think Ridley, if they like DJ Moore, and another one to consider, and I thought it'd be maybe low in the first round, is Christian Kirk. If they have big receivers there in Buffalo, a slot would really go nicely with that, with now your brand new shiny quarterback.
Roger Goodell moves his way to the podium. Josh Ward, who do you think the pick will be?
I think they'll go Calvin Ridley here.
Brian Akins.
I agree. I think it's Calvin Ridley.
With the 16th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker out of Virginia Tech.
Interesting to move up to get the linebacker.
They move up to get the linebacker there. Now, he's a guy that a lot of people, I had going around number 10, I think, to your Raiders. And a lot of people I saw right recently that Tremaine Edmonds was not going to be there at 10 when the Raiders take. He was going to be picked before that. So maybe if you're the Bills and you're at 16 and you can move up to 16 to get a guy that a lot of people thought would be gone, maybe at the Bears at 8. You didn't give up that much to get the guy if you think he's your linebacker of the future, right?
He's a big-time athlete. He had to have wowed the Buffalo Bills, but they were, after a quarterback, they went and got the guy. They found a guy maybe on defense they thought could be a game-changing difference maker. That has to be the case if you move up. They didn't give that much up, but you are risking some of the quality you can find in the middle of that draft by giving that away, and that's a team that needs to add to the entire roster. I wouldn't have made this kind of move. I would have valued the picks if I'm the Buffalo Bills and try to get as many players as possible. But in their line of thinking, they have to look at Edmonds and say, elite athlete, maybe a difference maker because of what he can do from a talent standpoint, and they went after him.
Tremaine Edmonds, your thoughts, Ryan Akins?
I don't think I would have moved up to make that pick. I would have went wide receiver, whether it was Courtney Sutton, Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore. I would have went with one of them. I don't know if I would have moved up for Tremaine Edmonds. I had him going 21 to Cincinnati, but
your thoughts, Vince Ferrara, Tremaine Edmonds to the Buffalo Bills. They trade up, give up a 3rd. Yep. Hour number 3 of Sports Radio WNML's Draft Central is on the air. Fired up to be here at Twin Peaks. Draft air flowing at 29 degrees Fahrenheit. This is it's just like a sports log cabin here at Twin Peaks. The service is legendary. The food's fantastic. TVs everywhere. Every single sports package you could possibly buy, you can get it right here at Twin Peaks. We had another trade in the meantime, and we had a draft pick and a trade. With the 17th overall pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Derwin James, safety out of Florida State. Guys, your thoughts on that? Packers have made a trade and traded back up to number 18 overall with the Seattle Seahawks. So the Packers are on the clock. The pick is in. But first of all, your thoughts on Derwin James of the Chargers?
I think the Chargers took the best player available in their mind. It's not a top need for them, but hey, you face some really good passing attacks in that division, in that conference. They took the best player available, great value. He's a top 7 type of guy that you got, at 17?
Yeah, he's a guy that I think most teams are probably going to have in that top 10 to 15 range. If you can get him there at 17, it's a guy that you can use right away and you think can play football for you for a long time. And we talked about stretching for needs. Do you stretch for a need there at a higher priority in terms of need, or do you go with a guy that you know, or at least in best chance in your mind to come in and make an immediate impact? I think you go Derwin James there. I think that's a good pick for the Chargers.
Brian Akins.
I agree. I think they got a steal. Honestly, I thought he was going off the board a lot earlier. You didn't lose anything. You didn't have to trade for him. You picked him up in your spot, and he's going to be an immediate impact.
The Green Bay Packers have traded with the Seattle Seahawks. Their selection is in. With the 18th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Jair Alexander, cornerback out of Louisville. So Jair Alexander goes ahead of Josh Jackson, the corner out of Iowa, who led the nation in interceptions last year. Ferrara had Jair Alexander going to the Green Bay Packers. Brian Akins, we'll get your thoughts first. You're the Packers fan in the building. Jair Alexander, you get a first for next year. You definitely didn't have to give that back up. But you pick up Jair Alexander, the cornerback out of Louisville.
I think secondary is the most needed positions for Green Bay. They have a lot of struggles there. We've seen that the past couple seasons. They get beat badly in the secondary, so to be able to solidify that back half of your defense with Jair Alexander, a great corner out of Louisville, I'm happy with that pick, especially being able to trade back up, and you still have that 5th pick next year in the first round with all the other picks you have in the draft this year.
Jair Alexander, Josh Ward.
Yeah, we could debate. We should have gone him. Should you go Josh Jackson in that spot? But you need some help there, and you look at some of the changes in that division. You look at the Minnesota Vikings bring in Kirk Cousins. You think that passing game might get even a little bit stronger. The Chicago Bears with Mitch Trubisky, if he's going to be a good player, they brought in Allen Robinson at wide receiver. The other Lions are going to throw with Matthew Stafford. So you're always going to need help at corner. So if this is the right guy for them, dealt with injuries in 2017, a really productive player in 2016, it makes sense why they went there.
And look, you drafted a corner first last year as well, right? In King. You picked him up in the draft, and then so now you go ahead and draft another corner and Jair Alexander. I just look at this and say, smart move. And you picked up an extra first somewhere along the way for next season, so that ain't bad, right?
Yeah, and how much we were talking about it, I think, yesterday on the Eric Haynes show about the need for corners and guys that can play outside, can play inside, and he can probably do both, or at least maybe start out in the slot position. You don't need just 1 or 2 quality players at that position. You need a bunch, and that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and Tremont Williams is your other corner, and he's had his fair share of issues at times. So, plus you're in nickel so much, so you're going to need a guy that, like Josh was talking about, can play inside and outside. He's got the versatility, great ball skills, super athletic. I trust Aaron Rodgers can make something out of lesser wide receivers short term. Got to fix the defense if you're going to get to the promised land for Green Bay.
I agree.
And now 27 the 27th pick has its 3rd team. Was New Orleans, then Green Bay, now Seattle is in that spot.
Yeah, a lot of teams wanted to trade back. It was a matter of how much value was there. Look, the Packers are the only team that didn't get 50 cents on the dollar so far tonight, right, on that one draft. So let's see what the Seattle Seahawks do get out of this one.
And the Seahawks are a team that they've gotten rid of some veterans. They need to start rebuilding part of that roster. They want to win right now, certainly with Russell Wilson there at quarterback, but they have to replace some key players. That Legion of Boom, as it's been broken up partly on defense, if they can add some more pieces, that could help the Seattle Seahawks' chances.
And the Dallas Cowboys are now on the clock at number 19. They're hugging, they're shaking. You see them doing it all. Jared's the one on the phone right now. Cowboys needs wide receiver, defensive tackle, linebacker, guard, tight end. Is it Calvin Ridley time, Vince Ferrara?
That's what I had them going. I heard they really love DJ Moore as well. That's probably something.
Cortland Sutton. They said the front office loves Cortland Sutton as well from SMU.
I'm a little hesitant with the local guy for NFL teams. They don't always do that, but I think the best overall wide receiver, ready to help you now, Cowboys are a win now, is Calvin Ridley. Moore is a little raw. Sutton still needs more developing. Ridley runs great routes. He catches everything. He has breakaway speed. To me, he's the most complete wide receiver. But all of those guys they brought in for multiple visits to the Cowboys. But the great thing for them is they're all there and they're available, so they can pick the one they like the best.
Josh Ward.
I had the Cowboys going with linebacker here, Leighton Vander Esch, but I also had Calvin Ridley off the board. So with Calvin Ridley being available, with Des Bryant being gone, you're trying to bolster that offense. To me, it makes a lot of sense to go Calvin Ridley, but I think they're in a pretty good spot here. I think they can come out with a guy that they really liked, offensively or defensively.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
I think the Cowboys are in a good position at number 19.
You want to talk about a guy who's just like Sean Lee. He's a younger, healthy Sean Lee is Leighton Vander Esch.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy is just the linebacker out of Boise State. So that would be a fantastic pickup if that's the direction they decide to go in. Brian Akins, your thoughts? Is this Calvin Ridley, or do they go to the defensive side of the ball?
I think it's Calvin Ridley from the beginning, Mark 1, 2, and 3. I've had him taking Calvin Ridley in some form or fashion. You release Des Bryant. I think you've got your go-to man, your key wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. I think he's the most ready to play at that position. You bring him in to replace Des Bryant to help out that offense with Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott. I think that's a great pick if they go that direction. But I think you're completely right. It could be Leighton Vander Esch.
Yeah, look, the crowd's going wild in Big D right now. They've got him pumped up. The draft in Dallas. A lot of Michael Irvin jerseys I keep seeing there. And Michael Irvin's one of the guys up on the stage, pumping up the crowd. It's a weird setup in that ESPN is back in the crowd, probably midway through, and NFL Network's on the stage where Roger Goodell does his announcements at the podium, and then they just walk away for Raj to do what Raj does. So it's a little bit of an interesting setup for
Where's
ESPN.
Fox? Do you know where Fox is?
I have no idea where Fox is. Fox is in, I don't know, they're in Fort Worth, right?
Are they just taking the NFL Network's feed in coverage, or are they doing their own thing?
I don't know. I thought they had their own thing, but I've not seen it, so...
Well, no one else knew it was on.
Right.
So.
Yeah, well, there were polls people were putting on Twitter.
Yeah.
Which one are you going to watch?
Troy Aikman's doing their coverage, so I did see that Troy Aikman says,
I would have
that
thought
out.
they would have had a different group.
Yeah, so,
But I've not actually seen it yet. I've just seen NFL Network and ESPN.
With Vander Esch, there's been some questions. Some teams have taken him off their board completely because he's had a cervical issue.
Yeah.
So that's something that's come as of late here this week. You started to hear that.
Didn't play the bowl game, right? Or did he come back and play the bowl game? There was a conversation about it.
I think he played.
Did he play? Okay.
Yeah, but he's a guy that, man, a lot of teams could use him. Pittsburgh is a team that he would be a great fit for. An inside backer. There's plenty of needs, plenty of teams that could use a guy like that. It's just, is he still on their board? Do they address that wide receiver position that Jerry Jones loves? Who's pulling the, making the decision and pulling the leverage? I thought during the process, even with Des Bryant leaving, that addressing the D-line would be the way to go, but Payne isn't there. I thought Deron Payne would be one where you could really address that need. Maurice Hurst is another one, but he's had the heart condition. So is he off their board?
That was the
too?
question, is Maurice Hurst, because he's a guy that might have been a top 10, top 12 pick. He ends up with an EKG at the combine. It turns out he has a heart condition. His people say he's cleared. Do NFL teams buy into that, or is he going to slide down the board? Because Dallas has shown them in the past, they're not afraid to grab a guy that may have had injury concerns in college, right?
Well, and there's also Taven Bryan. We haven't mentioned him at all.
Yeah.
He could move up in the draft, and we've seen people go that we didn't think would go as high as they did.
Yeah,
so.
they're just going position of need first, and then just go down their list of position of need.
Yeah, we certainly get into an evaluation time because you have a lot of guys that are probably, one team could have as their third best player at this position, the next team could have him as the fifth best player at this position. Then you can start to talk about some guys that, whether it's health issues, some guys that could have the quote off the field question marks, and then you still have that quarterback that's hanging out there in Lamar Jackson, who a lot of people believe is a first-round pick tonight. Which team would take him? But right now you have Dallas, Detroit, Cincinnati's at 21. Could they be a Lamar Jackson team? But the next two will not be.
Yeah, no. So the pick is in for the Dallas Cowboys, just waiting for Roger Goodell to come to the podium. I think it's going to be Calvin Ridley. You think it's going to be Calvin Ridley, Vince Ferrara?
I do. Yeah, and DJ Moore, though, they've had him in for a bunch of visits. The Cowboys, all those top wide receivers, they had all of them in for multiple visits. So it could very well be any of those three guys. And interesting, in our mock drafts, we had all those guys: Moore, Sutton, Ridley.
I had Courtland Sutton, but I had Ridley off the board.
Right.
So if Ridley was there, I mean, I think they go wide receiver after letting Des Bryant go. To me, that's the biggest position of need for them, right? But the middle of the defense needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
But you had 3 different games where the Cowboys only scored 10, or 4 different games. The Cowboys only scored 10 points last year. You got to get better on the offensive side of the football if you're Dallas and you're trying to compete at the level that Jerry Jones wants them to compete. So it'll be interesting to see. Roger Goodell's at the podium introducing some young people. at the podium right now before he gives this pick. But do you think it's Calvin Ridley?
I think it's Ridley. I would go receiver or linebacker here.
Ridley?
I think Ridley.
I think it's going to be Calvin Ridley as well. It'll be very interesting to see. And you always wonder with Dallas, who's making the pick? Stephen Jones making the pick? It usually is a good pick. Jarrett's making the pick. It can get nuts, right? Jarrett's trying to put the 22s on a 78 Cutlass. You know what I mean? That's what Jerry does. Is I need to have this toy over here as opposed to the thing that makes good football sense. I feel like he likes splashes. I feel like Jerry likes SEC players as well. And I just think that that's why this is one of the reasons this is going to be Calvin Ridley. So with the 19th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Leighton Vander Esch, linebacker, Boise State. Look, there's a lot of people that said that this guy is Sean Lee, healthy, bigger, maybe a little faster. But as far as being a guy who makes your entire defense better just because he's on the field, that Leighton Vander Esch is that guy, that he can go sideline to sideline, but that he also will just plug a hole. So Leighton Vander Esch, Josh Ward, right on that one, that it could be him.
Yeah, one of my rare correct picks here, but
we'll count later.
Yeah, right. With Calvin Ridley there, it would have made a lot of sense if they went that direction. But I just said a moment ago, I'd go receiver or linebacker. I've got no issue with this pick. I thought they might do that, and if he can be a difference maker for them on defense, they still need to address wide receiver, but they still can do that. So I like this pick for Dallas.
Ryan Akins.
I agree. Leighton Vander Esch, former walk-on to Boise State. He's got a ton of speed. Watching some of his film the other day, he's outstanding when it comes to rushing the running back. He's a great pick. And as you mentioned, the wide receiver position, there's not been a single one drafted so far. There could be a lot fall in the second round tomorrow. So we can see those position needs picked tomorrow in the second round.
Yeah, that's it. Look, for me, I'm just shocked. Given what we had last year where everybody made the run at wide receiver, John Ross gets taken early, the Titans draft wide receiver early. The fact that we're now sitting at pick number 20 without a single wide receiver taken from this draft, absolutely shocking to me, Vince.
You know what could happen here, and this happened earlier for Tampa Bay with Fitzpatrick, where they trade back and get the guy they probably would have wanted. Baltimore trading back to 22, with Detroit and Cincinnati ahead of Baltimore at 22. Calvin Ridley could still be there for him. So you trade down, get all the extra picks, and still get a guy that was probably at or near the top of your board. That could really work out for him. Or you could still have the other wide receiver still there. Detroit needs, to me, they need either a running back or they need to improve their defense in any number of areas.
Yeah, the needs for Detroit for this draft: defensive end, tight end, running back, guard, linebacker. Those are the biggest needs right now for the Detroit Lions. Matt Patricia takes over as coach. Frankly, I agree. They need running back. To me, you go Darius Guice. You don't think twice about not taking Darius Guice here. My gosh, you need a running game to help Matthew Stafford out. He's had to throw the ball 48 times, too dang many times. You go Darius Guice. Matt Patricia, Brian, though, is a defensive coach. Which way do you think he goes?
I rolled with Darius Guice as well in my first pick, but I went with Nick Chubb, believe it or not, in my third. But I think Darius Guice is a great pick, and I think, like you said, Matthew Stafford needs some help in the backfield. He can't throw the ball every single down. You need some help in the running game. I know Matt Patricia is a defensive-minded coach, but I think you've got to go offense in this first round while those running backs are available.
Josh Wood.
Yeah, I think they could go a number of different directions, and we shouldn't be surprised with what they do. I've got them going with an offensive lineman. I would personally wait on running back, but they do need help there. So if that's the move they make, it would make sense for what they want to be offensively. But I would say somebody like Harold Landry could work for them. He's another one of those guys. Dealt with injury this past year. 2016 was a terrific player, but he could be an option. Offensive line, there are a number of spots that they could go.
Eric, I mean, they just lost Eric Ebron, right? So tight end could absolutely. Is this where you see the South Carolina product, Hayden Hurst go? Is that a possibility? So look, but it's Matt Patricia. I can't help but think if he wants to go defense, they go defense here, right?
I have him going Harold Landry.
Yeah.
I think Landry would be a great fit for him. They need to get after the quarterback. The head coach, to me, it's similar to the Tennessee Titans. When you have that guy, defensive coordinator, taking over, and you want to address that side of the ball, you've evaluated and say, we got to get better here and here, they're going to lean towards helping out the coach and going with a guy that he'd like. I think Harold Landry, they can go a number of different ways, but I think it's Landry.
Josh, did you have them going James Daniels, the center guard out of Iowa, because they need guard help?
Yeah, I had them taking Connor Williams at a
Not a bad pick at all.
Yeah,
not a bad pick at all
there.
He claims I'm a tackle. A lot of teams have him evaluated as guard.
Right.
We'll see. You'll play wherever the heck they give you a check, right? Brian Akins, what do you think happens with the Detroit Lions?
I have them picked going with Nick Chubb. I don't think that'll happen after looking at it.
But based on the way the draft's fallen, what do you think so far?
I think now it's going to be more than likely Darius Geis.
So you think it will be Geis?
I think
they go running back?
There's some questions about Geis now. That's another thing.
Did he lie about the whole draft question thing, right?
Yeah, and supposedly he gave 3 different answers to, when people were asking him about the draft question, about his inappropriate stuff, about his mom and all that. So, some teams will get spooked by that, and others will be like, yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, and look, if you run the football, I don't care what you do, right? And especially if you run the football and I got you on the cheat. Right. That's the other thing that I would like. I'll just say that I think you should go Geis. I don't think they will go Geis. The pick is in right now for the Lions. I think that it's going to be an offensive lineman like you said, Josh, or it's going to be a defensive player like you have. They need another defensive end. They just do. They have Ziggy Ansai on one side. He's on a franchise deal. Maybe you draft a defensive end and either you have bookends or you let Ziggy walk after this year so you don't have to throw the double franchise tag on.
Yeah, and if it's Landry, it would be rough for the Titans because I think he'd be a great fit for the Titans also. But the way it's playing out, you could very well still have some really good players there for the Titans, including Rashaan Evans from Alabama, who's still on the board.
Still waiting on the Lions pick to come in here. Goodness gracious. Eric Kane, you're back at the Budweiser Studios. Your thoughts on what we've seen so far in tonight's NFL draft? We've blown that, yeah. So waiting for the Titans to get defense. All right, Eric came back to doing a fantastic job back at the Budweiser Studios.
And a funny thing with the trades is I think we thought that, and it did at the beginning, but the quarterback movement would be a big factor with the trades.
I thought we'd see trades.
We saw a trade to get Tremaine Edmonds and to get Marcus Davenport, 13 picks the difference for the Saints to move up, and then to get Jair Alexander a moment ago. So the quarterbacks were a part of it, but not the whole story.
Yeah, the quarterback was 2 of the picks.
Yeah.
But and also the fact that they were later and the fact that they didn't give up nearly as much as the normal draft chart tells you, the value chart tells you, that you would have to give up for most of those spots. With the 20th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Frank Ragnow, center out of Arkansas. Look, he is a great player. He really is. And if he's healthy, he's a plug-and-play, starts day one, makes your offensive line better.
He's also an example of why I think we start to get into that depth of the draft, because he's one of the players that some people said, yeah, I think he's a first-round pick. Others said, he might be the middle of the second round. And we started to say, okay, well then what exactly is the difference? How wide is the gap in terms of how Connor Williams or James Daniels or Will Hernandez is, how they're viewed versus him? So obviously the Lions did their own evaluation. They said Ragnow, who I think started to get a little first-round buzz over the last 48 hours, that's probably a reason why.
Frank Ragnow goes to Vince Ferrara. Your thoughts?
I had him just 2 spots.
Did you?
After this, at 22, to originally Buffalo. And the reason why is people started to go back and look at his tape and see that he could play guard. He played guard against Alabama, and apparently they really like that tape. So that's a need for Detroit. And you
want the versatility of being able to do both, right?
You can only carry, basically most teams will carry 7 offensive linemen on the active roster for game day because the roster's so small. So yeah, you need guys that are versatile like that. Graham Glasgow is their center, so you can upgrade from that. It doesn't address their pass rush need, but maybe they feel like there'll be enough guys that we like that we brought in the second round. So I think Ragnow is a good player.
Brian Akins, your thoughts? Former lineman Frank Ragnow from the center from Arkansas goes.
I like his versatility, being able to play center and guard. That definitely helps out an offensive line coach, being able to move him around when you need him. Definitely with injury. If ever injury comes along, you can move him side to side. Frank Ragnow, he's along with that Arkansas team that brings a lot of size in at their offensive line. He's a 6'5.5" center. You don't see a lot of centers that tall.
Yeah.
He's a big guy, but I had him going 30 to Minnesota, but I think that's a good pick. And I think he'll be an immediate impact for it.
Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock at 21. This is the Sports Radio WNML Draft Central live at Twin Peaks. Thank you. Hey, did that sound any better? Okay, man.
Outstanding season last year, so help out that wide receiver core. But Also, you have a Rashaan Evans on the board still. You can take him up right here.
It is worth noting who has the 23rd pick. The New England Patriots.
New England Patriots.
Do Mike Vrabel and John Robinson have some idea of what the Patriots might want to do, and if it's a defensive player that the Titans want?
If it's corner, because they need corner. The Patriots need to replace Malcolm Butler. Tackle's another placement. Who in the world is the tackle you're going to take, unless you think Connor Williams is that guy, and you think that the Patriots are going to try to move him out to tackle? So I don't know who it is that the Patriots might take ahead of them, but you're right. There's a relationship there with both guys that are making up the brain trust for Tennessee.
Yeah. And if you like either Evans or Ridley, and that's who you're targeting, New England is open to Alabama players.
Yeah, they are.
Because of Belichick and Nick Saban. So it's a great point. And I would guess it would be one of those two guys. For a wide receiver, you're going to get a lot of discussion from Titans fans. It would be a great value pick. You might be the best player on the board, but they're going to say, hey, we're going to get another wide receiver. We got to fix that defense and get better in some areas. I think Evans would be a great pick, but man, Ridley's such a good player that he could help Mariota. Your franchise quarterback, you got to help him any way you can.
What about Brian, the defensive tackle out of Florida? Is that a possibility that they go tackle here, not in?
They could.
I think there are a number of players that are a possibility here.
Pick is in for the Tennessee Titans. John Wilkerson hanging on with us. We'll get to John in just 1 second. After the Titans get their pick in and get his live reaction to what the Tennessee Titans are going to do. So wait on Rodell to step up to the podium. Very interesting to see the Titans make these moves. What's interesting, the amount of trades that we've seen, no wide receivers so far. No Lamar Jackson so far either, which I did not think he was going to last until this point.
Well, some of the teams that have been buzzing around him, they've gone in a different direction, at least to this. Baltimore had been mentioned. Baltimore keeps moving back. Maybe they think that, well, these other teams are going to take him, but Cincinnati had been mentioned, didn't happen. New Orleans moved up to take Marcus Davenport. Texas San Antonio. So a lot of the teams that have been talked about with Lamar Jackson haven't made that choice. A team that has been mentioned with him is up next, the New England Patriots, but the Titans are about to pick.
Roger Goodell steps up to the podium. Tennessee Titans pick at 22. With the 22nd pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans, Rashaan Evans, linebacker out of Alabama.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. He fits the profile of a player, of a Mike Vrabel type player.
I think it's a bad pick. I don't think Rashaan Evans will be a starter in the National Football League.
Really?
Oh, wow.
I watch what other guys have done in similar spots, and I just don't feel like Rashaan Evans has been nearly as good. Now, maybe I'm overvaluing the defensive front in front of him. And I just think as clean as he was, yes, he made plays. I didn't feel like he broke to the football nearly as well. I didn't feel like in pass coverage. He was also hurt. So we have to take that into consideration that he played hurt for a portion of the season. Because every linebacker from Alabama played hurt for a portion of the season. So maybe that's what it just looked like. When I look at what Reuben Foster was versus what Rashaan Evans was, night and day better. And I don't think Rashaan Evans is a starter in the National Football League in 5 years. Maybe he is. Maybe he's a guy. I just don't think he's a guy that's going to be a star. But I've said that this entire draft process. I don't think
you have. Yeah.
I don't think that Rashaan Evans is nearly as good as other Alabama linebackers that have been drafted in that spot. Didn't you disagree?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think not only is he good enough, I think he's a 3-down linebacker, and he has position versatility. He's had to play, because of all the injuries they had, he's had to play multiple positions. What was one of the first things that Jeremy Pruitt told us about the linebacker spot when he got the Tennessee job is, I want 4-for-4 guys at linebacker. He's one of them. You can put him inside, you can put him outside. I think from a leadership standpoint, he checks all the boxes too. He's a former 5-star, I guess. He was very highly rated. So I think he's perfect with a Vrabel type of player.
We have John Wilkerson of Sports Talk joining us live by the phone line right now. John, the Patriots are on the clock, but we have the Tennessee Titans picking up Rashaan Evans, linebacker out of Alabama. Your thoughts? All right, so Brian, your thoughts on that? I mean, did you like it? So the move for Rashaan Evans, I didn't get to you with that.
I think it's a good pick because you do have so much depth at the defensive line position. You have Terrell Casey, you have Brian Arakpo. I think adding Rashaan Evans to that linebacker position inside where they really need a lot of help right now.
A huge position of need. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Huge position of need. John, your thoughts overall on what we've seen so far in the draft. What has just stood out to you? Yeah, no, it's absolutely there for him for them to take if that's the direction they decide to go in. Your thoughts on how little teams have had to give up to trade up in this draft so far?
John, aren't the New England Patriots in a really interesting position because they're still built to win right now? They just played in the Super Bowl and had the lead in the fourth quarter, but there are also questions about the future. They also have 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, so they have some flexibility in what they can do in terms of going after the most talented player or trying to address needs, trying to do both at the same time. It seems like a really interesting position for one of the most interesting teams in the league.
Your Denver Broncos, what do you think about what they've done so far? Yeah, that's. I'll just tell you, it's a shocking to have seen Denzel Ward go ahead of Bradley Chubb, but he goes, and to your team's benefit. John, thank you so much for staying up with us and giving us a little time tonight, man. All right, thank you so much. Sean Wilkerson's done a fantastic job with the NFL, host of the NFL Report, creator of the NFL Report right here on Sports Radio WNML. Patriots pick is in. Vince Ferrara. Where do you see them going?
Yeah, offensive line is certainly a possibility. They could go with a Will Hernandez from UTEP. I think this is range. You got to start thinking about that. To me, even though they don't they don't have to address the quarterback of the future with the first-round pick. I think you have to certainly consider it. Luke Falk is a guy that some people think they really like, but you're not going to take him here at this spot. Mason Rudolph is as well. I think another quarterback, other than Lamar Jackson, it's too early for them. They could go any number of directions, but offensive line is where you think you would start, and maybe even Reed from Stanford.
With the 23rd pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Isaiah Wynn, guard out of Georgia. So they go line, but they go guard instead of tackle, Josh.
Yeah, again, any offensive lineman could have been named if we would have said, okay, it's an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
They have to be so close. Isaiah Wynn's been one of those guys that's been talked about. Is he a first-round pick? Could he slide a little bit? He goes right there ahead of several others who have gotten probably more attention, but Isaiah Wynn, very productive player for Georgia.
Your thoughts on Isaiah Wynn? Look, Sam Pittman coached him. Best offensive line coach in college football, in my opinion, Brian.
I agree. I think Sam Wynn's a great guard. Also, he can, as we see on his film, he can play a little bit of tackle as well. So he's very versatile. And I think with this Patriots team who just lost Nate Solder to the Giants, I think it's a great pickup for them. They need some help in the offensive line.
Yeah, you're right. He did play a lot of left tackle, mostly on rundowns. But can he be the heir apparent to Nate Solder, or do they bounce somebody outside? Maybe he starts out at guard. And then who knows? With the Patriots, the way that they just patchwork their offensive line and somehow, some way make it work, I feel like a versatile guy like Isaiah Wynn's that's a W for them, right?
I know there have been reports of Brady and Belichick butting heads. If I'm Tom Brady, I like this pick a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. And I've seen a couple times, Mike Mayock have two offensive linemen with their 2 first-round picks. You can't put that past the New England Patriots also.
No, you cannot.
Maybe a guy, especially if say James Daniels is still on the board. He's a guy that can play center or guard if you think Wynn can play tackle. Now you've improved the offensive line in 2 positions. But they'll have plenty of choices of good guys, I think, when they come back at 31. One other quick note, with all the trades we've had, the number 22 pick of the Tennessee Titans, they were the 4th team to hold that pick.
It's Casey's pick to begin with,
It
right?
was Casey's pick, then went to Buffalo, then Baltimore, and ended up with the Tennessee Titans. And the 27th pick has been held by 3 teams as well.
They were due, though. They were due to pick.
They were due. They were absolutely due. So the Titans get the number 22 at number 215 pick. The Ravens get 25 and 125. So you gave up virtually nothing, right?
And if
4th rounder?
Yeah, and I do wonder, would the Patriots have gone that way? Who knows? But the Titans probably thought there's a good chance somebody takes him there. So that's not a big move. You move up a few spots to get your guy, and you switch some picks around there later on.
And I think, now we have the same conversation with Carolina as we did with Dallas a couple picks ago. All the wide receivers are still there for them.
The receivers are still there, but you also lost your starting guard to Jacksonville in free agency. So do you decide, if you're the Carolina Panthers, who are currently on the clock, do you decide to go that route? Their needs for Carolina this year, wide receiver, easily, I think, the most glaring need that's out there. Corner, defensive end, offensive line, safety.
They're a team that, with that defensive end need, best player available, they may think it's Harold Landry and may go that direction. I think John was very astute to bring that up for the Titans. Boy, you thought Landry would be a Vrabel type of guy, and
perfect for him. You think it'd be perfect for what he does, right?
Absolutely. And I thought I had Evans because I thought Landry would already be gone. But for them to pick Evans over Landry was a little bit surprising. You can't rule that out when you got Ron Rivera running the show there in Carolina.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting. When you look at the one thing I guess that I'm seeing about that is we're seeing people say Vrabel wants both inside and out. He doesn't want a guy that just plays out edge. He doesn't want a guy that just plays in, and that's why Evans is the pick. The biggest place it seems like Evans got lit up was in, especially pass coverage. When he drops in the pass coverage, if you look at the stats, he was bottom half of linebackers that had faced as many targets as he did. But if he's more going to be, running downs he's inside, passing downs he's outside, I don't know that's necessarily that bad of a pick if that's the way he decides to go with them. We've seen the Patriots do that a little bit, take their inside linebackers, move them to edge if they need to. So if that's the way they decide to go, I don't know that Evans pick necessarily is as bad there. I just thought that, God, you have a linebacker that's in the bottom half of linebackers at his position that faced 20 targets last year. But if he's not going to be out there covering receivers or tight ends, that's not the end of the world.
Well, that's still why I'm a little surprised, even though it wasn't that much that they gave up, that they would move up to get him, because I thought they were guaranteed to have a really good option there at number 25. I didn't think the need to move up. Obviously, they have a different evaluation there, or they have him. He's got to be really high on the board.
Yeah, Panthers pick is up next. This is Sports Radio WNML's Draft Central live at Twin Peaks. Thank you. Sorry, I was hoping to get that Panthers pick in before we went. 6 degrees. We're still here with you through the end of the draft. It is Sports 180, Sports Radio WNML's Draft Central live at Twin Peaks. With the 24th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select wide receiver DJ Moore out of Maryland. DJ Moore goes the first wide receiver selected at number 24, but he goes ahead of Calvin Ridley. How unreal is that? Vince Ferrara, your thoughts on DJ Moore ahead of Ridley?
Yeah, I think Ridley is the most game-ready, and he's the most complete wide receiver, runs the best routes, hands, speed, all that. But DJ Moore has upside that a lot of NFL teams have, and I think some teams did have Moore rated higher than Ridley. I actually had this pick, but it was only because Ridley was already off the board. Yeah. So, I looked into that one, but hey, it's a position of need. I mean, they're two best receivers. Obviously, they have Funches, but after that is Torrey Smith, Demir Bird, and they absolutely had to address this and get another weapon. They addressed it with McCaffrey last year, getting another weapon for the offense. Still have a terrific tight end in Greg Olsen. You need to get better on the perimeter.
And now that leaves the Baltimore Ravens on the board with the Titans pick at number 25. Ozzie Newsome likes Alabama players. Calvin Ridley still on the board. Wide receiver is the biggest need for them.
Yeah, they can still get the guy even though they moved back 2 times in the first round. So I think Baltimore comes out great here. They've added some depth to their draft. They've got I think 6 picks in the first 3 or 4 rounds. So they are in a good position. I think Baltimore, they don't have to go receiver because they've made some moves like bringing in Willie Snead to where that could have given you a sign that, well, maybe they don't have to go get Calvin Ridley with that 16th pick, but now they're at the 25th spot. They can say, well, he's best available, and we still could use some help there. But they're in a position where they have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds, 6 in the first 4 rounds. So Baltimore is going to have a lot of options to take advantage of over the next couple of days.
Yeah, that is a lot of options.
And you mentioned getting Snead. They got Crabtree in the offseason as well. Yeah. So we've made.
They might not go wide receiver. You're right.
That could be an assumption.
I'm thinking they need a 3rd wide receiver. Other needs right now for the Baltimore Ravens. Tight end, Hunter Henry, is that a possibility? Inside linebacker, is there another one on the board? Offensive line, quarterback, there are a lot of offensive linemen still on this board with first-round grades for most teams. When you talk about Will Hernandez, James Daniels, Connor Williams, all out there right now, still on the board. And the Ravens pick is now in. When Raj gives you the pick, we will give it to you here. I just am shocked to see Calvin Ridley not go. At the same time, DJ Moore played through 4 quarterbacks at Maryland and just kept putting up numbers, even though I think, Josh, you played 3 games for him this year.
That's right. So this is one that surprised me, though. I would have bet pretty strongly on Calvin Ridley being the number 1 wide receiver. I also would have bet on him being off the board with the number 25th pick, but number 25 pick. But here we are, and it's actually Baltimore with the spot. I had Baltimore taking him number 16.
Calvin Ridley?
Calvin Ridley,
I did too.
So it still could happen, just 9 spots.
Is that who you had taking Calvin Ridley?
I had Calvin Ridley going to Dallas at 19. Okay. So originally I had Baltimore taking Tremaine Edmonds, so he's off the board. I think wide receiver makes the most sense. Tight end could go guard. There's a number of directions, or best player available. And Harold Landry's still there.
Harold Landry is still there.
Yeah.
And I thought this is about the place that he would go. I had to go to the Titans.
Because of some surprise picks, a lot of things could happen with these next few.
Absolutely could. With the 25th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens take tight end Hayden Hurst out of South Carolina. So position of need, Hayden Hurst, another Southeastern Conference guy. He fits to me more what KC Philly do with their tight ends because of how many times you saw South Carolina just tossing the ball outside of the line of scrimmage, but Hayden Hurst goes to Baltimore.
Yeah, they by the way, they found a way to go with a player older than Calvin Ridley, which has actually been a question mark with Ridley. But the position was one that we thought they could target, and Hayden Hurst is a guy that a lot of teams have liked. I didn't necessarily think that Baltimore would go there. I actually thought in that spot they might actually pull one of those offensive linemen that have slid a little bit, but they go with a guy that I'm guessing they think can help in the middle of the field there for Joe Flacco.
Yeah, James Daniels is a guy I thought they might go with if they don't go wide receiver on that one. They need a center. So Ryan Jensen, their center, is gone. I thought that might be the way that they would go, but they have those guys on the board. They don't pull the trigger on that. Your thought? It's Hayden Hurst.
I really like him. I think he's the most complete tight end in this draft. I know people have talked about Gesicki and they talked about Goddard. Those guys are pass catchers. Baltimore, you got to be willing to block because they're going to play physical smash mouth football too. So he's a guy that can block, does block, really athletic, former baseball player as they've outlined, turns 25 in August. So he goes to the 25th pick. So the Titans weren't open to the number 25, but Baltimore is with an older guy. I think he's the best tight end, so good for them.
Okay, Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. Look, the way that you see Hayden Hurst over and over again, bubbles to Hayden Hurst. You don't see that in tight ends. That many teams do that. Kansas City does that. Philly did that.
Doesn't mean they won't evolve into that.
True, very true. Joe Flacco could use to not have to sit and hold the ball 3 seconds every time before he has to release a pass downfield to somebody.
And we didn't mention it, Josh. This was also a potential landing spot for Lamar Jackson.
That's right.
And Baltimore didn't go that direction also. What's up with Lamar Jackson? Who's going to take a shot on him?
Unless somebody trades up, he's not going, right?
And that could very well. This is definitely a range where you could start seeing teams not in the first round try to move away.
And we know what the story will be Friday if Lamar Jackson enters day 2. But there's one piece of information we found out wasn't exactly accurate because the 4 teams that one still has a pick remaining, New England, but we heard about Cincinnati, they passed. We heard about Baltimore, they kept passing.
Right.
We heard about New Orleans, they moved way up and passed. And New England's passed once. Could they take him with the 31st pick? We'll see. But a lot of teams that were mentioned with Lamar Jackson, then of course other teams just going with different quarterbacks early in the draft. Miami, there was talk of a quarterback with number 11. They went with a different position. So a lot of teams have passed up on the first round opportunity. Now, one of these teams could still take him,
right,
but in terms of how they value him, we're starting to get an answer there.
And well, other than the Patriots, the only other team that you could think of that could address the quarterback position as it sits right now is Jacksonville at 29.
Yeah, that is a possibility. That's all a lot of mock drafts had Jacksonville taking Lamar Jackson. Maybe that's the way that it goes. Right now, I almost get the feeling somebody else has got to trade up. Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. Their pick is now in. Their needs, Don Terry Poe's no longer there. So I would have thought defensive tackle all the way. But who's the defensive tackle you're taking care of? Now, we've seen teams just say position or need. Who's next on our board at that position? Bam, that's where we go. Their needs are defensive tackle, wide receiver, possibly with Calvin Ridley, to pair with Julio Jones, tight end, defensive end. What do you guys see happen here? I don't even know who the next defensive tackle will be.
I had Taven Bryan in my mind.
Is that maybe who it is?
Yeah, I think it's,
that would, if they go defensive line, I would think that's who it is.
Yeah, put him next to Grady Jarrett.
Yeah.
2 very different tackles is what you want inside.
Yep.
I think it'd be an excellent fit in that scheme.
Where is Maurice Hurst going to fall?
Second round, right? At this point, he's going to fall.
The medical almost scares NFL teams more than off the field stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. Gracious. If we see Calvin Ridley drop to 27, at best, are you kidding me?
That would be so exciting for Falcons fans, but even though they made a big jump defensively, they got to still keep getting better.
You can't lose Poe and not put another tackle there. So if you go Brian, that makes all the sense in the entire world. So now with the 26th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Calvin Ridley, wide receiver, Alabama. Wow. Goes to the Atlanta Falcons. I got to be honest with you. I love that. Now, I'm thinking fantasy football, John Madden. I'm not thinking necessarily let's line this up and try to go play, in an NFL schedule. Man, I love that. Julio and Calvin Ridley side by side. Matt Ryan tossing the football. Those two running backs.
Devontae Freeman, Kevin Coleman,
Steve Sarkisian still calling the plays. So right when you got your hopes up, Falcons fans,
thanks, Will.
But it's decided to burst your bubble just a little bit. I love that pickup, right? Love that pick.
Sanu, they still have Hardy, who's a young guy. Man, that's
playing fantasy. They're playing fantasy football with that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just really that's just making trades on your Madden dynasty just to pick up whoever you can.
The funny thing from that standpoint is you have a lot of keeper league dynasty players that are not happy because they feel like Julio just took a hit. You feel like that Coleman and Freeman, they're not going to get as many passes out of the backfield.
And they're not as many passes out of the backfield.
So Matt Ryan owners, I don't know that you keep Matt Ryan, but if you're in like a salary cap league, whatever, there's a big bump to Matt Ryan. The Falcons became very interesting. They're going to be a team on Sundays. The teams are talking about because you already have a lot of players that you know on that team. Now you add Calvin Ridley from Alabama, so two former star wide receivers from Alabama playing just down the road in Atlanta.
But doesn't this get back into the dynamic you had in Atlanta when you had both Julio and Roddy White? When Roddy White was healthy, right?
Could very well be. I don't know what the contract situation for Sanu is. Maybe you think you're not going to re-sign him, or he's going to want too much money. I don't know what the contract situation with him would be. That's a consideration for some teams in the first round. Just like, and we're going to get to him in a bit, in a couple of picks. Just like the Steelers are dealing with Le'Veon Bell. Okay, well, you want some leverage? We'll draft a running back.
Yeah, and you're right. It could be that Julio's taking all the Falcons pictures off his Instagram account, right? All that stuff.
Yeah, and one other thing with the Falcons is they signed in the offseason Jack Crawford from Dallas and Garrison Smith from Seattle. Now, those guys are difference-making tackles, but they're at least guys that you plug in the next spot.
Seattle Seahawks are on the clock. Sports Radio WNML's Draft Central live at Twin Peaks. In Twin Peaks, it's where we do it. This is WNML Draft Central Twin Peaks, your sports lodge. TVs everywhere. Far as the eye can see, there is not a single sports package that's available on the market that they don't have at Twin Peaks. Are you a Minnesota Twins fan wondering, hey, I want to watch all 162 of the Minnesota Twins this year? You can watch them right here at Twin Peaks. NFL package, NHL package, NBA package, they have it all. NBA Finals coming up. This is the place to do it. Heck, you're getting off work right now, working second shift. You need to come finish up the draft. Stop by here, see us. Sports Radio WNML live at Twin Peaks. Draft beer flowing. 27 degrees Fahrenheit tonight. Will West, Vince Ferrara, Josh Ward, Brian Akins back at the Budweiser Studios doing a fantastic job. Fantastic job by Eric Kane, Tyler Ivens, Joel Silverberg, Andy Sellers here with us, Chandler here with us as well. Even though he's wearing a Philadelphia Eagles jersey, we'll still give him a little bit of a begrudging shout out. But we're here. The Seattle Seahawks have their pick in at number 27, and with the 27th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Rashad Penny, running back out of San Diego State.
Wow. That's, I think, the biggest reach we've had so far. He was a mid-second highest that I saw.
I saw some third-round mocks for him. Wow. I like him. I like him a lot. I think I was going to draft him in one of our dynasty fantasy leagues, and I passed on him.
How do you not fix the defense with everything you lost?
I don't like
Josh Jackson's on the board, and you lost Richard Sherman.
The Seahawks right now don't have another pick until the third round.
Yeah.
So with the roster moves you need to make, you go running back, a position that I would say is the most fixable. You have Chris Carson coming back from the injury. He was a rookie they really liked a year ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if this says something about how they feel about how he's returning from that injury, but I don't get this one at all.
I had Isaiah Oliver as the corner in the first round a little bit early. That was kind of my reach.
Mike Hughes is there.
Yeah.
Josh Jackson's there. Something about Josh Jackson might be a top 10 pick.
I would have traded back for anything.
Yes.
Right? Because there is talk right now that there are some teams looking to jump back in. I would have moved back on what would probably be a very cheap price, but if you can add another fifth-round pick, they're in a spot where they have a number of late-round picks. They have 4 fifth-round picks. But the Seahawks don't have a second-round pick. They have the 12th pick in the third round and the 20th pick in the fourth round. they're going to wait a while unless they make some kind of move to move back up, and I don't know exactly what you do with that because you don't have a number of options to move up anytime soon. I don't get this pick at all.
I don't understand it. If you decide to go offensive line because you say, okay, corner, I think we can figure that out with some of the guys we have. Right. You have two massive glaring needs: corner, offensive line. There are offensive linemen on the board. You have Dwayne Brown now tackle. I understand your tackle you feel like's better, but you don't have guards. So what are you doing?
D-tackle, whether it's Tatum Bryan, Maurice Hurst. If they wanted to address safety as well, Justin Ree is
tight
there.
end is even a position of need now.
Yeah, even though I think we thought other running backs would go higher, I don't think any of this conversation is about Rashad Penny.
No, it's not. I like him a lot as a player, as a receiver even. He's great.
Yeah, I think it's about the fact they went with a running back when they have so many positions they need to fix on that roster, and they have so few options to do that in the draft. But if we looked at their draft choice and they had 4 picks in the next 2 rounds, they'll say, okay, that seems like a reach, but maybe they look at those value picks and they're going to get a bunch of guys. They can't do that either. Right. So that's why when they need to do so many different things, they go after a running back when there are a number of players that are probably interchangeable, and I don't think that's their biggest need.
And running backs are going to be let go after the draft too, because it always happens that way, that some running back that's good, maybe make a little too much, is going to get let go because somebody doesn't want to take that cap hit, and they found a cheaper option, and you didn't even wait and take a scrap heap guy. And also, you have a trash line. He's going to run behind that trash line? I mean, I don't, like, and let's be real, John Schneider's not a guy usually that sits and says, I'm going to put the 22-inch blades on the 84 Cutlass Sierra with the primer fender. I feel like this is what Seattle's doing. You're reaching for a luxury item instead of, you know what I mean? The power is out at the house, but you got a new gold chain. That's what I feel like right now the Seattle Seahawks are doing.
I mean, Seattle hasn't always addressed the offensive line through the draft. How many years have we said, hey, Seattle needs to address that offensive line? Now, they did so in free agency some, with Fluker, and they've done it a little bit in the last couple of years with Britt and Posick. And Dwayne Brown you mentioned, but through free agency. But man, I just in the pecking order of what you needed to address with everything you lost on defense, you're the Legion of Boom allegedly. I would have gone other directions. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a really
what do they do? Yeah, needs for the Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker. They need somebody who replaces Ryan Shazier. Wide receiver, safety, running back. They can use offensive line help, and there are a number of them on the board.
Well, I had them right here taking Sony Michel from Georgia.
Really?
A little bit of an upset with earlier him going ahead of Darius Geis. But you have Harold Landry still on the board, and you need that position addressed. You don't know what the future is with Ryan Shazier. You've had injuries at that spot. So there's a lot that, and there's offensive line, whether it's Will Hernandez, safety, Justin Reed is another one that I've seen mock drafts with him. There's still really good wide receivers on the board. That's another need position, whether it's Cortland Sutton or somebody else. There's a lot of directions the Steelers can go. I don't know that they take talked about that with Roethlisberger. They're trying to win now, so I would think they'd go best player available in Harold Landry.
Josh, what are your thoughts? Look, if there was an inside linebacker, I'd say they go inside linebacker. I know there's an inside linebacker that you're going to take at this point. Running back seems like as good of a place to start as any. Cortland Sutton, is that a guy? Is that a direction you might go? Martavis Bryant traded to the Oakland Raiders.
That's worth noting is that the Steelers traded away Martavis Bryant to the Raiders here, so if they value somebody like Cortland Sutton, then you could go that route. Otherwise, I'd probably go offensive line here.
With the 28th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select and we're still waiting on the pick. I don't know, Raj just decided to tease the pick, and then he just said, now we are honored to have. I said, so, I don't know, Adam Schefter's teasing this is going to be one of the coolest moments in the NFL Draft history. I'm assuming Ryan Shazier is going to come out and be the one that gives this draft pick right for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is. It's Ryan Shazier who's going to come out and give this pick. So that is a really, really, really cool moment. Like to see that. Like to see that a lot. Ryan Shazier walking out to give this pick. So, no, that's as cool of a moment as you can have in the draft right now. Look, I got a little annoyed there with Raj teasing the pick and then not giving the pick, but it's absolutely worth it for this.
Yeah, this is a great moment. And the scene on the field with Ryan Shazier, and then you could see afterward when he was able to come back to the stadium, he wasn't able to walk yet, and he was being wheeled in, and the fans were able to see him. He's a fan favorite. For him to be there is a great moment.
Yeah, it's a fantastic moment. So now with the 28th pick of the 2018 NFL Draft, Pittsburgh Steelers select Terrell Edmonds, safety, Virginia Tech. Safety's a position of need for them. Not the end of the, I don't know, it's the most glaring need. I don't know that Terrell Edmonds was a guy that a lot of people had a third-round grade on Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah, Tremaine's brother.
Yeah. A lot of people thought Harrison from Alabama was going to go ahead of him. I mean, there's
Justin Reed.
Yeah. So I kind of shocked to see this. But again, what we're seeing in the NFL draft, the new normal in the NFL draft is I'm going to take my guy off my board, regardless of if I can get him later on or maybe I can get him later on or what the trade value chart tells me. I'm just going to take that guy. Steelers go with Edmonds, the safety out of Virginia Tech. Your thoughts, Vince?
Yeah, I'm surprised. This seems like a reach for me. Certainly he was in a different spot on their board than what a lot of us thought, but I think maybe can get some more impact guys or trade down. Nobody else is taking him at the spot, I think, or anywhere near.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. Is they're no doubt addressing a need. The Steelers going after a safety here, but is he a player that somebody else is going to take anytime soon? Maybe the talk of teams wanting to jump into the first round isn't really true, because if you have back-to-back picks, the Seahawks taking running back Rashad Penny and then the Steelers taking Edmonds here, two guys that you would both think would be available later, then you'd make a move back, right, and draft them there. Right. So maybe that talk of teams wanting to jump back in, maybe it's not as strong. We'll see. There are 4 picks to go here, so somebody else could jump back in. But that tells me the talk's a little cooler than we're being led to believe.
It tells me this. There's no market to trade back up right now for Lamar Jackson or Mason Rudolph. There is no market late in this draft for that. That doesn't mean the Jacksonville Jaguars picking at number 29 right now couldn't possibly take Lamar Jackson. But that's what this tells me. If you could have traded back in the beginning part of the second round, now I'll say this. I'm a Giants fan. What's the thing that I said that I wanted to do if you're going to draft Saquon Barkley? As long as you get the guard, beginning of the second round, I'm fine with that. Man, we have a list of them that the Giants possibly can take. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Jacksonville Jaguars here, Vince, on the clock now at number 29, take a guard with this pick.
Yeah, Will Hernandez is there. He's a guy that I also pegged for Minnesota at 30, right behind